1-0 to Smith. Kerr delivers. And that's it in the air out to right field. Fernando fighting the sun a little bit, using his glove to shield his eyes. He makes the catch, and the ball game is over. For the first time this season, the Padres have won 4 straight. The Padres have won 4 straight. The Padres have won 4 straight.
Okay, so we talked about day 1 of spring training, what our goal was. Our goal was to win a World Series. There's steps along the way, right? We got to the first one here. We got to the first one. There's a few more to party with, but I'll tell you what, the first one should be celebrated and celebrated hard. Drink up, man!
The Padres have won 4 straight.
Let's go, San Diego! Live the up, San Diego!
I mean, this is what you're doing for us, and I'm really proud of the guys and excited for everybody.
Let's go! Hey, it's our house right here, baby!
The Padres have won 4 straight.
This feels so much sweeter than any other win that we've had, man.
The Padres have won 4 straight.
You know, it's a credit to them. They know, they know what was ready for us at the end. And you keep your eye on that all the time. You know, no matter how many punches, like you said, that you take along the way, if you really, really are convicted in what it's going to look like at the end, then you end up in the place we are right now.
The Padres have won 4 straight.
It feels great. The players, the fans, they both showed up in the biggest possible way. It could not have been better. Congratulations to our players. Is it extra sweet?
Because you finally won 4 in a row?
A little bit.
The Padres have won 4 straight.
Oh, welcome in, everybody. Let's get our heads right on a Monday. Yes, sir. Welcome in. Ben and Woods, 97.3. The Fan. Reunited, back together. All the boys. It's great to be back. And what an intro. What a weekend. If you're a Padres fan, it was elusive. Long awaited 4-game winning streak, and it's here with a chance to go for 5. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, our executive producer, imaging director, the man responsible for that brilliant open. Did not use any quotes out of context at all. It was all real quotes, as far as you know.
Real quotes.
That's real. Those really happened.
I don't know that they all happened yesterday.
Well, listen, nobody needs to know that. We do not. Nobody needs to know that. They were said. That's not AI. Those are real quotes that have been said by Padres and Padres employees.
Within the last year.
Within the last year, absolutely.
Maybe this weekend. I'd have to go and look.
Exactly. All you do is you just do the best with what you have at your disposal.
Yeah.
And Paulie does it well. To my left, Benjamin R. Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning. I think it's fair to say that if the season started right now,
the
Padres
on fire.
would be in, catbird seat.
Yeah, the hottest team in baseball.
Might be the team to beat right now for the World Series here, at least the late September World Series in Major League Baseball.
No question about it. Well, man, what a trip. I had a phenomenal trip. We'll
Welcome
get
back.
to that.
It's
good
good
to be
see you back, yeah.
We'll get to all of that, though, at 8 a.m. when we do the nice hard reset. We want to do a 2-hour show and then another 2-hour show. That's how we kind of block out the day. And got to tell you, man, as I was gone, man, my phone went absolutely ham on Friday. Was out in Chicago with Bo, went to South Bend on Saturday, but as let's see, Friday was the day. What did we do? Oh, we had breakfast with an old friend of ours, Ciro, who used to work here. It was fantastic to see him.
You went by Wrigley Field.
Went to Wrigley Field.
I saw the picture of Bo in front of the sign.
Rode the train, went to the museum that day, actually. Looked at a T-Rex, all that stuff. It was great. But my phone started just going bananas. Did you see this article? Did you see this article?
Yeah, it must have been 9, 10 in the morning where you were at.
Yep. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me check this out. So it was a busy day, man. We were walking. We were at the museums. So later on, we got back to the room, grabbed a little nap. I opened my phone, and I read Kevin Acey's piece in the UT on Friday. As Padres season spirals, questions emerge about culture, cohesion, and chemistry. So I read it. I looked online. I saw some reaction, some of which I didn't agree with, some of which I did. So I go, maybe I'm reading this wrong. Let me go back and reread it again. So I did, and I let it simmer. Then I read it yesterday on the plane, again, as I was coming home. And then I read it again this morning. I grabbed the blue highlighter and started highlighting things. This is the 4th time I've read this article. And I know I'm supposed to come in here this morning with a flamethrower. And I got a flamethrow AC. I got a flamethrow Manny. I got a flamethrow Seidler. I got a flamethrow Preller. I don't know, number one, if there was much in that article that we didn't already know.
There's a ton of things we talked about all season long.
All season long. We talked about it.
Right back to the hit by pitch incident in Seattle that we talked about extensively.
I was livid at that moment. And to hear, though, it was kind of cool to read that and to go, all right, I got that one. That one I was right on. That clearly people noticed that. That kind of stuck in their craw. And we saw the flip side of it. When one of the Mariners got hit, and the entire team jumped over the railings, and they're ready to fight somebody. And, we'd said all season long, this team does not play for each other. They do not care about each other. They like each other. And I'm telling you guys, when I tell you, every single person we've asked, and I got some people that are very close. And I'm not talking about Skip Schumacher. He's the manager for another organization. I'm talking about people in the organization that are very close with the team all the time. And you know what they told me? No, they get along. They get along. Now, getting along,
the vibes are right.
The vibes are fine. They're as confused as you are. They're as confused as everybody is. But they do not like each other. Have there been some headbutting this season? Absolutely. Absolutely there has been. That's standard. The Braves have had some headbutting this season. Every team has had some The Astros. I mean, Astros are getting, Dusty Baker's getting called out by one of his own players every day for not playing him, Chas McCormick. And the media is pounding Dusty, and they're having a, really nice season. Snitker's catching heat. It happens in clubhouses every single year. But, man, I'll say this. I read the piece. I saw people mad at Kevin for putting this piece out, and I said, well, he's quoting Manny Machado. Like, these are direct quotes from Manny. So I do think it's definitely worth a discussion today. How did you feel about it, Benny, when you read it?
I was also a little confused as to, maybe it's because we've been so close to it for so many months, and maybe some people reading it for the first time or people who had become a little disengaged from the Padres.
Sure.
It felt shocking. I guess to me, it didn't feel shocking at all. It felt like this was a team that was put together. I know it has some of the best talent in baseball, and I know it hasn't worked out. So clearly, we know they have some issues, and they've been trying to figure out what those issues are. This piece went through some of them, and, I think it laid out some of the areas where Manny Machado is not an absolutely perfect ball player, just like the rest of them are not perfect ball players. Manny has his own style, and it doesn't necessarily translate into being like the vocal, get up in front of a room, give a speech kind of leader style. Now, he can also be a very effective leader when he is, just kind of putting the team on his back like we saw last season and carrying a club and getting out there, making spectacular plays, getting in the dirt, diving. I mean, Manny Machado has many, many, many positives. There's a reason why he is one of the best players in baseball and on track to make the Hall of Fame someday. But he's not perfect. And I think we knew that already, just as Juan Soto is not perfect, Xander Bogaerts is not perfect,
Fernando Tatis Jr. is not
perfect. Jake Cronenworth is not perfect. It's a question, and neither, by the way, is Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts. They may feel perfect, in this moment because their season's gone so well, but they're not perfect either. It's figuring out how to get all your kind of flaws to balance and mesh together into a better cohesive unit. And that's something the Padres were just not able to do this year.
No, not once. I mean, now they are.
A little bit.
A little bit.
It's hard to say. They beat the A's.
Right. A's have beaten some pretty good teams recently.
I mean, who's to say if the Padres had faced the A's in April, they wouldn't have had a 4-game winning streak back in April.
100%.
It's nice to face the A's. And, one of the wins came against the Dodgers, which was extra sweet. But, it's the A's. And, I don't know that they've turned a corner here or figured anything out at the end of the season.
No, I mean, the pressure's off.
Yeah.
Number one, that's something that we were all pointing to. Every fan, as much as our fan base eats one another and attacks and guts each other. I mean, one thing we all agreed on is, oh, yeah, they're going to play really well when the pressure's off. Everyone said that. I mean, I did not see one person that said they wouldn't. They're going to continue in this manner until the rest. No, we all knew. Everybody knew that when the heat was off, they were going to go, hey, let's go out and have some fun, guys. We're out of it. Let's maybe spoil a couple of teams' runs, right? We all knew that. The part of the article that I think I was most disappointed in, and let me preface this by saying, we've talked to Manny Machado 100 times. We've seen him down at the ballpark. You've heard his interviews. We've interviewed him. If you're looking to Manny Machado to make some beautiful, fiery, eloquent speech, that's not the guy. He's about as baseball cliche as you're going to get, ever. The cliche book that Crash Davis gave Nuke LaLoosh on the bus, that's Manny Machado to a T. Yeah, we just got to play him one game at a time. Good Lord willing, things will work out. That's baseball. We just got to keep playing baseball. How many times we heard that? Don't worry about it, man. At the end of the year, you look at the back of our cards, we're going to be where we need to be. This is the cliche fact.
Don't overreact.
Yeah, don't overreact.
To anything. I mean, that's his mantra.
It always has been.
Which sometimes is just what a team needs.
100%.
Unfortunately, this team needed to react a little bit sooner this year. And they kept saying, we don't need to overreact. We don't need to overreact.
Maybe you should have.
By the time that they realized, oh, wait, maybe it's not just going to automatically happen, it was too late.
So this is the part that sucked for me. This is the part that really sucked. And it's under the subcategory in the article of follow-through. Padres had what some estimated were 8 or 9 team meetings, some among players, some had members of the uniform staff and or front office. In all of them, it felt like an agreement had been reached and plans had been laid out to get the team on a path of cohesion. Machado was among the primary speakers in virtually all of them, and then over the ensuing days, he was among those who did not follow through on action plans. It was relayed to him the types of things that could have been disregarded included being on time to meetings and buses, pregame work, executing unselfish at-bats, and demonstrating a sense of engagement on the base paths or elsewhere. So that part to me, follow through or direction without action is just, it's nothing. That's just words. You see it all the time. You see it in any walk of life. You do it in parenting. Oh my God. How many times have I sat Bo down, read him the riot act, and been like, it's fine. You can have ice cream. It's fine. Like, it loses weight after a while. The empty threats. Bo always says to me now, you say that I can't go and you're just going to end up taking me anyway. He's 5. He's 5 years old and he knows I'm full of S. So if you're in there and you're looking around the clubhouse and you're, name a random player, and Manny Machado says, hey, listen, we're going to get it together. We're going to work hard. We're going to do extra work. We're going to be on time. We're going to be engaged. And then he's not on time, doesn't do extra work, is not engaged. That's a problem. That's a problem. So that part to me was the most glaring part. Don't talk about it. Be about it is something that we always say. Stop having so many GD meetings. And stop talking about it. Start going out and playing up to your potential, all of you, and lead by example. So we were talking this morning before, and I know you were playing a little bit of the contrarian role, Ben, but when nobody on the Padres goes out for extra defensive work, and everybody on the Dodgers does, to counter that with what you countered with was, well, we're really good at defense. Yeah, we are. We're a good defensive team, probably better than the Dodgers. Not probably. Better than the Dodgers.
Much better than the Dodgers.
I'd rather be the best overall team
That's
than
the thing.
best defensive team.
So for me, what that means is what it does, it just gets everybody on the same page. We are all the outfielders then see the infielders doing extra work. Then they think to themselves, it's the old story. I've told this story before, but it really stuck with me. And it's the old Yankee in me showing through. But it was Jeter's first spring training. And he goes out to spring training, and he's like, this is great, man. I'm gonna be the shortstop for the New York Yankees. The very end of Mattingly's career. Spring training practice is over, and Jeter's walking off the field, walking back to the clubhouse. Sprinting past him is Don Mattingly, who won an MVP. And he goes, oh, yes. If he's running, I better run. right? It's that kind of stuff. Yes, it may look like eyewash, but I think that stuff's important.
I don't disagree with you. I don't want it to be thought that we have heard a bunch of stories that the Padres players don't work hard, because the opposite is true. I hear more stories that maybe some players work too hard and do too much, individually to try to figure things out. So it's not like they're a bunch of lazy guys who just don't want to put in the work. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No,
it's not that.
Absolutely.
But I think you're right in that what they haven't focused on is doing those cohesive team things together. Jake Cronenworth, he wasn't even mentioned, I don't think, in the piece. But for example, I know that he worked, his brains out. He may not have been taking infield that day because he was in the cage trying to figure out what was going on with his swing and putting in extra time there. But that has a cost. When you're working on your own by yourself, in a cage on a machine, you're not building that cohesiveness with your teammates. So, what's the right balance to strike between working on your own versus going out and, taking grounders on the field when I feel like, God, I need to be taking some more hacks back in the cage. I shouldn't be out there. I feel like this team constantly battled that, that yin and yang, that push and pull about what they should be doing to try to figure out why they weren't playing so well.
Yeah, we can talk about this probably the majority of the show today. There's that much in this article. And again, I don't think it was a bad piece. I don't think that there's a reason to drag Kevin Acee for this, not for this piece. I took exception to puff pieces about Matt Carpenter last week, because nobody needs another puff piece about Matt Carpenter and how diligent and hardworking he is when the guy never plays and was absolutely terrible and is paid way too much money for what he's given. That I have a problem with. This one I didn't.
Yeah, did his job. Talked to guys. They told him what's what. He gave Manny a chance to respond, quoted him extensively.
Yeah.
I mean, in the piece, he actually said Manny Machado is not necessarily the problem or even a problem on this team. So everyone who read that and said, Kevin's saying that Manny's the problem, he specifically said that wasn't the case in the piece. And I thought it was fair, and I wasn't all that surprised when I read it.
And somebody just asked us in the chat, did you read Will Meyer's tweet regarding the article? And yes, I did. And I read Yonder Alonso's tweet. And I think when we come back, we can talk about those because I can pretty much disprove Will's ASAP.
Fair enough. All right.
Like easily.
Not our usual foreplay, but we thought we'd better get into it. It was a very busy weekend. We will obviously talk about the games. We got a whole weekend of NFL, college football. There's really one college football game. It's Colorado State.
Good
Somehow
God.
the whole college football universe now centers around
we just do a Colorado segment every week.
It's amazing.
We have been.
Got all of our regular features. Don't do this. Take on Woods. Daily Ditty is coming up next as well. Glad to have everybody with us on a Monday morning. Glad to have the whole crew. It's good to have Woods back with us on a Monday morning on San Diego's #1 sports station. Let's get our first check of traffic this week with Kelly Danick here on 97.3 The Fan. I may have even done this theme before, but Footloose went over so well a couple of weeks ago that I thought 80s movie music would be a nice theme for the Daily Ditty this week.
Not bad, not bad. There's some good ones in there.
Yeah, there's
I'll
a lot of
find
choices
some.
for sure. Glenn Frey, Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack.
Yep.
The Heat is On. Always one of my favorites. I must have listened to the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, worn out the cassette.
I loved it.
When I was a kid on that one.
Feels very you.
It is very me. Very me. You get some, horns and, it just rises and falls.
Say something else. yeah. There's some horns. Ben, did you say there's some whores? Horns. Plenty of horns.
Yeah, the brass section.
Yes, I know the brass section. Very. Yeah. Horns. Anyway.
All right, we're still talking about Friday's article in the Union Tribune about Manny Machado and the Padres, and it was responded to fairly quickly by a couple of people who were very close to the situation. Yonder Alonso is, of course, Manny's brother-in-law.
Sure. And
quickly went to defend Manny on social media against what a lot of people viewed as an attack on Manny Machado.
Right.
And neither of us really viewed it that way.
I didn't feel that. I really didn't. Again, when there are quotes from the actual person, it's hard for me to be like, ooh, what a hit piece. A hit, and I will say this, if there were no quotes from Manny in there, none, not one, and that article was written, then I would feel like it was a bit of a hit piece. I talked to several people in the clubhouse that said he's a giant piece of S, right?
We didn't let Manny respond to any of those allegations.
Right.
We're just printing them
We're going to print them
sight
and run.
unseen without a chance to respond to them.
So I thought if you need to absolve a reporter, I thought the actual quotes from Manny actually says in the article, culture, what is this, high school baseball? What is this, college baseball?
He's allowed to think that way, too.
He absolutely is. He absolutely is. He 100%.
As he pointed out, didn't hear any complaints last year when we went to the National League Championship Series.
Of course. And again, the lack of winning this season has certainly helped the culture spiral down the drain. And that's just, there's a million reasons for it. I don't want to get into them now. But listen, Will Myers is allowed to speak his mind as well. Will Myers tweeted, I didn't play for the Padres in 23, but it's unfair to headline one player for the struggles of an organization in a particular year. In my opinion, this is not an accurate representation of who I knew for 4 years. But the representation is from the man himself. Well,
it is unfair to put all the blame on one person.
Sure.
But that's not
what he was
what was
doing.
going on there. Clearly this is a team issue, and Manny's not the only person who is responsible, but as he acknowledged, even in the piece, when he was said, hey, this is your clubhouse, right? Everyone else said it. You're the dominant personality. You're the guy here. He said, that's fair.
I can tell.
That's fair.
There's a story I can tell that was told to me by somebody inside the Padres clubhouse, which sheds a little bit of light on it. When Xander got here, new guy, winner, right? Winner, big contract. Xander came in and was kind of feeling his way around the clubhouse, right? Just kind of quiet in his own corner. Didn't know when to pipe up and pipe in. And we felt that way when we got here at 97.3 The Fan. You're like, I don't know if I should speak up. They hated me. I barely ever talked. So after a few weeks, I guess Manny came to Xander and said, hey, man, fire away. You're in, dude. Let's go. Get on board.
It's your team too.
It's your team too. Let's go. Feel free.
I like that.
I do too. That was explained to me by somebody in the clubhouse as well, and I said, okay, that makes sense. But listen, man, I have a overall question. Do the Padres or the Padres organization, the higher ups, the brass, do they know what a leader is? Because the guys they've paid a lot of money to, pre-Manny even, were not leaders.
Will Myers
being
Eric
one
Hosmer.
of them. Eric Hosmer being another one. Now, here's the funny part.
Eric Hosmer was actually probably the biggest leader.
You ask anyone that played with Hosmer, best leader we've ever had. I'm like, how's this possible?
Right.
I also know for a fact.
I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to us.
I know for a fact that he's like, extra work. I'm not doing any extra work. I'm good. I've got 4 gold gloves, right? Do they know?
He also presided over just some epic,
horrible
collapses
and bad teams
in the team.
He also didn't perform. Do you, AJ, Peter, Ron at the time, do you guys know what an actual leader is? That's my biggest question and takeaway from all of this.
I mean, is this not why AJ signed Nelson Cruz and Matt Carpenter
Correct.
in the offseason as well? Even though they were both aging and you're going to have to squeeze them in as designated hitters, he thought, hey, if they can just produce, they're going to bring a culture of winning. A guy, Nelson Cruz, who we know Manny respects as much as anyone in baseball.
Like more so.
To set a tone. Matt Carpenter coming from the Cardinals organization, an organization that is all about the culture and team.
The Cardinals and the Yankees.
I mean, the idea of that AJ had, I think, is spot on. Like 100%, exactly what this team needed. The problem was they were both terrible. And you can't be a leader or impact a culture of a team when you're a first-year player who's not producing. Who's awful.
You're not producing, and the team, Matt Carpenter in week 3, isn't going to be able to get up in front of the room when he's batting 064.
No.
And say, Manny, extra defense, get out there and get some grounders. You know, Juan, what are you doing? Are you Cadillacing that jog to first? No, but they're going to be like, who are you? Like, who are you? And you haven't even hit 100 yet. And lest anybody out there listening thinks that we are in here carrying water for Kevin Acee. Kevin Acee appears on our competition. He doesn't appear on this station. He appears on our competition. So we'd have to be pretty stupid to carry water for a guy that doesn't even come on this radio station. That's not what's happening. Again, if there were no direct Manny quotes, you're going to hone in on the Manny. At least I did. I honed in on the Manny quotes because he was the only one that actually had the balls to speak on the record. Now, we don't always like what Manny says. A lot of people don't. But I don't know. My overarching theme is, do you guys know what a good leader is, what a good leader's supposed to look like? Because you paid Will Myers a ton of money wanting him to have that role. He wasn't that guy. You paid Eric Hosmer a ton of money. Apparently he was that guy. He just wasn't good. He just wasn't a good player. But the guys flocked to him. Great clubhouse guy. I'm telling you guys, 100% of the people I've talked to, and it's been many, said, oh, Hosmer's the best. The best. I'm like, did he hand out Rolexes or something?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
because he didn't produce.
Nobody wants to hear it, but yeah, it's not 90%, not
No,
95%,
100%.
100% of players.
I want to give the tier ones a chance to join us here.
I'd love to
We'll
hear
get to
your
our
thoughts.
Padres wrap-up next, but if you want to call us, the phone lines are open. Do this a little earlier than we usually do on a week. It's Monday morning at 6:33, and the phone lines are open right now. So if you'd like to join us, 833-288-0973. Agree with us, disagree with us, you want to talk about Manny, it's also on those other guys. They weren't the focus of the story, but any one of them. You know, Juan Soto has a World Series ring. Xander Bogaerts has 2. You can't simply put this on Manny's doorstep. Bob Melvin had some interesting comments this weekend where he pretty much tried to take all the blame himself. Thought that was interesting as well. So if you want to join us, give us a call. We'll have our Padres wrap-up. Come back, continue this conversation. We will get into some of the football over the weekend.
We can bang, take on Woods. We can push it.
Yeah, we can push it back if we're on a roll. Don't worry about it. Yep.
I want to hear from Padres fans, whatever. This is our first time back on the air since that piece dropped, so let's talk about it.
Coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Sour 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by the Old Town San Diego Chamber of Commerce. Get ready for a culinary extravaganza in historic Old Town San Diego. Join us on Thursday, September 21st from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Indulge in rich flavors and diverse cuisines at participating restaurants. Tickets available now at tasteofoldtown.org. Prepare your taste buds for an unforgettable journey at Taste of Old Town San Diego.
Now, our boy here, Den Spartacus on Twitter, says, just to be clear, in a newspaper story, just like in a documentary, you can get quotes and statements from people and still misrepresent the overall sentiment or truth. It happens all the time. Agreed. I absolutely agree. Sometimes, but it's true because I watched it in a documentary. I'm like, buddy, you can slant a documentary damn near any way you want to.
Absolutely.
Right? And so kind of hard to get through.
Most usually are.
Yeah, most usually are. It's exactly right. I mean, go watch, if you want an example, go watch the documentary Netflix did about Florida, where they omit every shady murderer they had on the team, and you're like, well, hell, Urban Meyer seems like a pretty good dude, when you're done watching it. What a great motivator and leader.
Yeah, you had Urban Meyer leading a pastor, a racist, and a murderer. And you're like, this is going to be the greatest documentary ever.
And they just do the pastor, pretty much. So, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying there. But in this instance, and again, my takeaways may have been different than others. All I did was focus in on quotes from the actual player, which I do find amusing. These are the quotes from the player that I said this wasn't a problem, that he wasn't a problem. So there's a lot to unpack.
Our phone lines are open if you want to react, 833-288-0973. I think one question that remains unanswered is, do the Padres need to do something about it? And what can you do about it? I mean, I don't think you're trading Manny Machado, so how do you address it and make sure it doesn't happen again next season? If you want to give us a call, please do. We also have some giveaways later in the show. Stay tuned. Chance to win passes to the Bellator MMA coming to Pechanga Arena. We also have Power Trip Festival passes. You heard of Power Trip?
Oh, have I ever, my friend.
Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Judas Priest, Metallica, Tool. We'll have tickets to give away in the final hour of the program today.
Is that out at Coachella, like Coachella Valley?
It doesn't say where it is on my copy.
I think it is.
But we'll have some tickets to give away later. We'll have more details when we give away the tickets. But we'll get to your phone calls and our Padres Wrap-Up right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto Family, here's Kelly Danick.
Guys might still find some slick roadways around various parts of the county, all due to some scattered light rain. They did clear that crash on northbound 5 near 28th Street. Now in the North County, eastbound 78, right around Barham, there is a collision. Vehicle went into a ditch over the right shoulder. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I love winning, man. I love winning. You hear what I'm saying? It's like better than losing.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Miss any of yesterday's Padres game?
Did you catch a game last night?
Well, we've got you covered.
Thank you.
It's the Padres Wrap-Up with Ben and Woods.
Let's go! It's our house right here, baby.
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
That is the ball game, and that is a winner.
This about damn time.
Campusano reaches for it, pokes it in the air to shallow left field. Ruiz not going to be able to make the play. Machado comes in to score, and a 2-strike knock for Luis Campusano gives the Padres a 1-0 lead. 2-2 pitch, Batten runs. Rosario hits a high chopper towards first base. Noda started to charge, then stopped, and Rosario runs right by him as Bogaerts comes in to score. The difficult weekend for Ryan Noda continues. A little bit of indecisiveness over there at first base. Definitely a weird in-between play, but it'll cost the A's a run, and the Padres now lead 2-0. Here's the 1-1. And Batten hits a ground ball through the left side and a base hit. Bogaerts will score without a play. Campusano's on his way. Ruiz's throw is cut. A 2-run single for Matthew Batten, and the Padres double their lead. It's 4-0.
This game tends to reward you when you do things right.
Waldichuk comes home, and Juan swings, hits it in the air to deep right center. Brown is back. He's going to watch this one. Gonna go! 2-run homer, Juan Soto. Now a 6-0 Padre lead here in the 7th. That is his 31st home run of the year. Runners lead at all 3 bases. The pitch swung on, hit in the air to deep right field. Brown's going to watch this one. Gonna go! Almost the same spot as Soto homers for the 2nd consecutive inning. This one a grand slam, and now 10-0 Padres in the 8th. 1 out of 3 with a single and a strikeout. A right-handed hitter swings at the first pitch, launches one to deep left. Soto just going to turn and watch as this one goes over the green fence for a solo home run. 26th of the year for Rooker. He is their home run leader. And the A's will not be shut out here this afternoon. It's 10-1. 1-0 to Smith. Kerr delivers. And that's it in the air out to right field. Fernando fighting the sun a little bit, using his glove to shield his eyes. He makes the catch, and the ball game is over. For the first time this season, the Padres have won 4 straight. They wrap up a road trip through Houston, Los Angeles, and Oakland with a 6-3 lead. And at no point in these 4 consecutive wins have they trailed.
It means it's 4 in a row. So I more than anything, it's just getting what was been a problem for us all year off our back. But we got to keep going and win more than 4 in a row.
Yeah,
Agreed.
there's only 2 teams in baseball that haven't won 5 in a row this year, and the Padres are one of them.
Who's the other?
That's a question. I think it's the Royals, but I'm not 100% sure. I just know that it's the Padres and one other team. So they can get that off their back today against the Colorado Rockies. I will say that there are a couple things that are meaningful in these games. I don't think the final score is particularly meaningful at this point. They're still 6 games out of a playoff spot with 12 to play. They're not eliminated, but as Bob said, we got to win them all, and they also have to get a lot of help to even have a chance on the last couple of days of the season. So, the outcomes aren't that important. Thought Nick Martinez going 3 innings, kind of getting stretched out again as they're going to have to make a decision on Nick in the offseason on his contract and bringing him back possibly as a starter next year. That was meaningful. For Juan Soto, first career grand slam. I was surprised to learn that he had never,
Me too,
considering all the home runs he's had already.
Yep.
Not a single one of them came with the bases loaded until yesterday. So good for Juan, 32 home runs. I mean, in the end, he's going to end up with another, fairly incredible season, as one of the younger superstars in baseball. So good on Juan and good on the Padres for finally getting 4 straight.
No doubt. Juan, yes. Let's hit the phones.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Yeah, we got some people out there. 833-288-0973. Let's start with Chris. You are first up this morning talking about Manny Machado and the Padres here on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we today?
Doing well, man. Good to be back. How are you?
I'm just awesome. 4-game winning streak. What more can you ask for?
Look at us.
and before I get into my Manny comment, I want to, as I don't want to use the word psychotic, but as up and down as this team has been the last 2 years, would it shock anybody if we don't Colorado Rocky it and close out with 16 straight wins to end the season?
Nothing shocks
Only
me
if
anymore.
that leaves them a game short of the playoffs.
Right.
Now, if they actually could make the playoffs, they'd lose at the end, I'm sure.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'd at least touch home plate this time.
That's exactly right, my friend. No, nothing. One thing that this season has taught me is that, 1, I know nothing about baseball. 0. Number 2, nobody knows anything about baseball ever. And number 3, nothing will surprise me. Nothing will surprise me. If just nothing shocks me anymore, especially about this team, but mostly just baseball in general, my friend. What did you want to say about Manny?
100%. My comment about Manny is, in my mind, there's no doubt in my mind, he is better than 99.999% of the people that walk the face of this earth at hitting a baseball.
Yep.
He is better than 99.999% of the people that walk the face of this earth at fielding a baseball. What he's not, and I've never got the feeling, is a leader. And that's not anything bad. Some people are born to be leaders, some aren't. I just never got the feeling he was. I think personally, and the comment about people not going out and taking the fielding practice, that did kind of seem like it was directed at Manny. But I don't think it just doesn't appear. We all have those friends who never hit a golf ball before and went out for the first time and drove the ball 350 yards.
They drive you crazy. Yep.
Yeah, and I get that feeling with Manny. He could wake up out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and hit a baseball 400 feet or dive and field a ground. I just think that's Manny. It's not part of his. He doesn't need to do all the extra things that a lot of guys did. And the other part of it, and I did kind of take that Kevin Acey's as I wouldn't call it a hit piece, but it was definitely, the tone of it was directed at Manny. And I think the proof in the pudding is, if it wasn't, you wouldn't have guys coming to Manny's defense. So I think the general tone was that it is partially, a lot of it's falling on Manny's shoulders. And again, not to defend Manny a lot, but I don't think he necessarily probably asked for it. When they signed him 4 years ago, whatever it's been now, 5 years ago, he was the first real superstar, big splash guy we've ever had. You guys went nuts when that announcement was made.
Absolutely.
And you can't help it. I wasn't in that meeting, but you can't help but believe it. Peter Seidler and A.J. Preller probably at the time said, hey, not only do we want you here, but we want your input on who's playing around you.
100%.
Two examples of that is, I remember when they were trying to decide that was it 2019 where Fernando first came up, keep him or send him back down. And I remember reading or hearing, might have been your show, that where Manny went to management and said, this kid's ready.
Yep, 100%.
So, and the next thing you know, he was on the team. And also, it might have was kind of subtle earlier this year at the trade deadline. And I think it was one of the TV reporters asked him a question when there was a lot of talk about keeping Snell or trading Snell, and they were asking Manny what he felt. And I remember his comment was, I took my general manager's hat off a long time ago.
Yeah.
So that to me kind of meant like, okay, I've had enough of guys coming to me asking me what I should do. So I think innately, we all have those guys at work that we know have the boss's ear. And those guys, whether they ask for it or not, we know who they are. There's probably the coach at your station because he's been there for a long time. So they kind of become the de facto leaders. And I think, in my opinion, that's Manny. I just think Manny has kind of become that. I don't necessarily think, if you probably sat him down quietly over a beer and said, do you want to be the leader? He'd probably say, no, I just want to play baseball, which is the overall tone. Unfortunately, through osmosis, he's become the voice of and the team leader. And last comment I'll make is, I think I got a feeling next year, you mentioned it earlier, I have a lot of friends in Boston. I got a feeling Xander probably kind of, is a new kid on the block, didn't want to rock the boat. I will bet you, my prediction for next year, he will take a much more of a leadership role going into spring training. And I think I really believe that. And thanks for your show, guys.
Yeah,
thanks
Chris, good way to start us off. Appreciate it.
833-288-0973.
I'll say this, because we've talked to Manny about this. We've talked to Adam Jones about this. Manny Machado is still an evolving baseball player, even at age 30. He's not the same guy he was 4 or 5 years ago with the Orioles. And he may not be the final product that we'll see at the end of his career, but he felt some responsibility, especially with the big contract, to try to step up and maybe be a little something that he's not. I think any one of us would in that situation. That doesn't automatically make you a leader, though, signing a giant contract. It just means you're being rewarded for what you've done and what you can do on the field. Now, he'll still need to evolve more. Now, maybe he will figure out, the right way to lead and become that leader of a winning, World Series championship team. Or he may have to be okay with the fact that maybe I'm not the leader of this team, and then cede that clubhouse to someone else like a Xander Bogaerts, who's going to be there, who can take on that role. And that's okay. It's going to be on Manny to not feel like I'm a failure because I couldn't be the leader of this team, and he feels like I should be. I've got the personality, I got the numbers on the back of my baseball card. I should absolutely be the leader of this team, and maybe he should. But just like I was saying last week, you weren't here, Woods, when I talked about how someone needs to step up and be the designated hitter on the Padres. No one wants to do it. Juan Soto doesn't want to do it. Makes him feel like a lesser baseball player to be the DH. Same with Xander. They want to be out there playing every day, but someone needs to step up and be a DH. Someone has to step up and be a follower sometimes, too. They can't all be leaders. You can't have 26 different leaders in a clubhouse. So sometimes the responsible thing to do is throw your support behind someone and, pull on that rope with a different player as the leader. Maybe that's the evolution for Manny Machado in the future.
Yeah, it remains to be seen. Ego is such a powerful thing. Once you try to tamp it down a little bit, does it make you a worse player? I don't know. I mean, you got to have it in this sport. This sport, above all else, you got to have an ego. You got to know you can hit, and you got to know you're going to fail 7 out of 10 times, and that's still going to make you very good. So it's tough, man. It's not going to get figured out here today. I promise you that, but doesn't mean we're going to stop talking about it.
We'll talk more about this. Jordan Shusterman, Sam Levitt will join us later. We'll talk more about it. We can continue, or your phone calls as well, coming up next year. Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. All guests on Men Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Fan Hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Again, Jordan Shusterman, Cespedes Family Barbecue, and a Grand Old Monday will join us at 8:35. Until then, we can take more phone calls talking about Manny Machado, the piece on Friday. We're probably the only show in America that hasn't discussed football whatsoever in the first hour of the program on a Monday. But, hey, when there's Padres news, it always comes first for us, and that's just the way it's always going to be.
How'd the report card turn out?
Let's see. The 0-2 season going down the toilet very quickly. Brandon Staley was quick-tempered in his post-game news conference.
For him, yeah. I did.
When asked about the Jacksonville collapse and if it's had a lingering effect on the Los Angeles Chargers.
I did see that Jim Harbaugh's name is already being floated this morning to replace Brandon Staley. And, you could get that booger eater in there, and he could lead the San Diego Chargers. That's still one of my favorite videos of Jim Harbaugh just snacking on a booger.
You said San Diego Chargers.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just like everybody else still. No, that's true.
Jim Harbaugh snacking on a booger on the sidelines of a Michigan game. I have it somewhere in my bookmarks, I'm sure, if you guys want to see it. But already, after 2 games, they're over Brandon Staley. What's funny is if they were still the San Diego Chargers, we'd be in here this morning breaking down why it's time for Brandon Staley to go.
Probably. Oh, yeah.
No question about it. And we need to trade this guy. All right, rebuild it. I saw some of those tweets yesterday. Time to break it down. Get rid of Khalil Mack and a bunch of guys that we could get stuff for and just shut it down after two pretty rough ones.
If you want to talk about why Brady Hoke needs to go, I mean, we could have that conversation as the Aztecs fall to 2-2 with their loss at Oregon State. Although I saw most people saying, hey, they
played tough.
They didn't embarrass themselves nearly as much as they did against UCLA.
Well, we here in San Diego, we know how to load a big fat bowl of copium and smoke it like nobody else in the country. We know that. We are really good at smoking copium.
You can go ahead and excuse losses to back-to-back top 25 teams. This week is the one for San Diego State. They play Friday night against Boise State at Snapdragon. And if they can't pack that place, and they can't find a way to win that game, we know the direction this season's going. It's going to be a very disappointing year for the Aztecs because you have to finish in the top 2 in the conference to get to the championship game. There's no divisions anymore. You lose to Boise State, you pretty much have to run the table from there on out to even have a sniff at a chance at a conference championship. So this game, just circle it. Most important game of the season for the Aztecs this Friday night against Boise State. And they got to figure out a way to win that one. But, let's go back out to the phone lines. 833-288-0973. I see our friend Dean is on the line. Dean, welcome to Ben and Woods. Good morning to you.
Good morning, fellas. How we doing?
Dino,
Dean.
how you doing, buddy?
Hanging in there, man. You know what's so comically dumb about that AC article is it's really as simple as if the team had not blown so many games throughout the course of the season, and if they were at 80-something wins right now, like they should be, and comfortably sitting in a wild card spot, that article's never written, and none of this stuff's being talked about. That's really all it comes down to, and that's why it's so, in my opinion, was such a stupid thing to write, because the team by and large is the same as last year. Adding Bogarts, notwithstanding, but I really didn't understand the reasoning behind writing something like that, because this team very well should be coasting into the playoffs, and just because of a lot of just dumb mistakes and games that were easy wins that they turned into losses. I mean, if half of those go the right way, that article's never written. So that's what that really bothered me.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I'll tell you who might have been the happiest that it was written on Friday, and is probably AJ Preller. That's probably the guy that is looking at that article going, yes, good. The heat is off me for a minute. Listen, when it comes to overall resume, overall number of wins, 90-win seasons, AJ's resume does not look good. And if you're Peter Seidler and you're going over the books and you're looking at Matt Carpenter's contract and guys, there's 24 contracts that you could lay out over the last, and we probably will at some point. If you're Peter Seidler, you're like, remind me again why we paid this for this guy and then cut him. Who was the guy they signed for $1 million?
Adam Engel.
Adam Engel, 6 ABs and $1 million. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, for Peter Seidler, $1 million is probably not much, but it's still $1 million for 6 ABs. There's been, like I said, a couple of dozen of those. And if you want to look at roster construction, you want to look down at some of the games back in the middle part of the season when the Padres were still very much in it, just not playing well. Games that you would bring up a guy from AAA. The record from the guys that have come up for spot starts and things like that due to injury is atrocious. I mean, Waldron finally got a win, but it's been atrocious. The depth of this team. No one ever thought Rugi Odor was going to be here, right? He was the late addition to the team. Actually had some decent moments as a San Diego Padre, kind of stabilized things in the infield for a minute. But yeah, there's been so many swings and misses. I promise you, AJ was like, whew, good. I'm not even mentioned in this article, really. Let's put the onus on Manny.
I saw some hot takes this weekend about Jurickson Profar, and he was missing the straw that wasn't stirring the drink, and now that he's back, look at how well they're playing. I think that's I actually think that's kind of foolhardy.
Do you?
The Padres have not fixed anything. They've won some games lately, but the reason they're in this mess.
You can't fix what's already happened.
The reason they're in this mess is because they lost all their close games this year.
Yeah,
what are they now? 6-21 and 1-run games, and with the last time they won a game by a run or by 2 runs even. The last time the Padres won a close game, I looked it up. July. Even on this 4-game winning streak, they only win when they're not close. You can't have a good baseball season and not win a close game every once in a while.
Right.
That was the issue. They haven't fixed that issue. They just haven't played close games because, guess what? They're playing the A's. And the A's are a really good team to win not close games against right now.
8-3, 5-2,
and they're horrible.
10-1.
The last time the Padres won by either 1 or 2 runs was July. They don't win any close games. That's impossible to have a good season. You cannot win enough 3, 4, 5, 6-run games. Even the best team, even the Yankees of 1998, they have to win close games to have a good season.
Yeah, you have to have comeback wins. You have to have extra inning wins. You have to have all of these. All of these things are important.
Let's keep going on phone calls. We can push take on Woods until our next hour. We got Mike in Temecula. Mike, good morning. Welcome to 97.3 The Fan.
Morning, Mikey.
Hey, guys. Hopefully I don't cut out here on this lovely drive down to San Diego. Hey, I really wanted to talk about on Friday. I think I understand, Braden, he filled in for you guys. I think the take wasn't correct. I don't think it's the players. Yes, they do have something to do with it. But the whole team for the San Diego Padres is not Peter Seidler's team. It's not Bob Melvin's team. It's AJ's team. He's the one that put the product on the field. And for me, the red herring was Buddy Black being fired way back when for 1 game under 500 at the All-Star break. That's when the first red flag went up. I just think AJ and his little cronies from the analytics team has been missing it pretty bad for the past couple of years. I just want to see what you guys think about that.
I think at the end of the day, the only thing you can judge a GM on, in my opinion, is wins, losses, farm system. You just saw in Boston. Were you guys on when they fired Bloom, or was that on Friday? You guys were on.
Yeah, we were on. We talked about it.
Show,
they gave him 4 years. They gave him 4 years to do the job in Boston. Didn't get it done. I think they made the playoffs.
1 ALCS appearance.
1 ALCS
2
appearance.
last place finishes, and whatever they end up this year, which is right around 500.
Yeah. But he has allegedly rebuilt the farm system. I saw Eno campaigning. You got to give this guy. You got to give this guy another couple years. But when you look at AJ's resume overall, I mean, it's not good. It's 100+ games below 500 in almost a decade. So that to me, if I need justification to make a change, that's what I'm looking at. If I'm the owner, I don't think there will be one. But that's what speaks the loudest to me is a lack of a dynamic organizational culture. Players coming here getting worse for the most part, and then overall record. Now, the farm system, by all accounts, is well on its way back to being pretty good. There's a lot of guys to be excited about, but this was not supposed to be the time we were getting excited about prospects again. It just wasn't.
I think Mike makes a good point, actually, about AJ, one that we haven't really discussed all that much. But I want to first say about AJ Preller. He's a very smart guy who wants to win, and he's not oblivious. He's not sitting up in an ivory tower totally unaware of what's going on with his baseball team. I know this for a fact. He knows there's problems, that it has not worked out, and he knows that it's on him, a lot of those problems. What Mike said, though, is that he said this is AJ's team more than it's Bob Melvin's team, more than it's the players' team, and unfortunately, I think that's a little too much true.
I think that's very true.
No GM should have as much influence on a team as AJ Preller does, and I think it comes from a good place. I think he really wants to win, but he's a micromanager. He wants to get into everything because he wants to win so badly, and because he's got an unbelievable work ethic, and he's up 20 hours a day trying to make this team better. It's almost too much, and sometimes the best GMs are the ones that can, roll out a manager and a team and then just back off a little bit.
That's just the best. That's the best overall type of. If you've ever had a manager in your life, and if you're listening, I'm assuming 100% of you at some point have had a manager.
At some point.
Whether it was at Jamba Juice, whether it was at an accounting firm, whether it was
Very few people have been self-employed for their entire lives.
Drug dealers and self-employed. But even they have a boss. You got to get it from somewhere, right? So
your Etsy store just was
firing,
huge from the day you just started it at 18, and that's all you've ever done.
Some of these Instagram influencers, right? Well, listen, I know that's the minority. Some of the best bosses know when to step back and know when to delegate and know how to delegate and know when to say, hey, man, I hired Bob Melvin for a reason. It's so counterintuitive to me. If I'm going to hire the best man for the job, I'm keeping my hands off. You know why? You know why I'm doing it? The number one reason I'm doing it? So I'm not culpable. Hey, I gave Bob 100% free reign. When he needed a pitcher, I got him a pitcher. When he needed a first baseman, I got him a first baseman. He blew it. I had nothing to do with this. He asked me for a hard-throwing lefty. I got him one. He managed this team. I didn't help him with the lineups. I didn't help him with anything. It's on him.
But be honest with me, Woods. When things aren't going well, if this show wasn't going well, you wouldn't want to delegate. I mean, you'd want to jump in and you'd want to tell Paulie, you need to do this and you need to do that, Paulie. Even though he knows what he's doing.
Less so now, ask Paulie. Less so now than ever before. 3 years ago, absolutely. Now, there's a ton of trust. I mean, 100% trust.
Right, because things are going well. But when they're not, it's harder. It's harder to that's the challenge, is to let your people dig themselves out of the tough spots, because the instinct is to, I need to do more. I need to work hard. I need to do more. I need to get in there more. Things aren't going the way they should be. And I feel like AJ gets caught up on that when the Padres are struggling. It's like, I need to do something else. I need to do something else here.
But when in the 9-year tenure has there been a sustained time of doing well, right? So it's been 9 years of tinkering with the Cameo. You know what I mean? And the Cameo now is on blocks. It's on blocks in the driveway. Pete Alonso smoking a cigarette, working on the engine right as we speak. The Camaro's on blocks. And that to me is like, when you run it somewhat like a fantasy baseball team, one part gets the attention, the other parts don't. It's hard to do it all. You just can't. And if you trust your guys, if you trust your people, if I was AJ, for me, the Tingler move, I think it was an accident, essentially, from what we've heard. It wasn't meant to be Jace Tingler at the end of the day. That being said, that's one I kind of would be like, yeah, I need to oversee this. I need to be around the corner with my eye open. When I hire Bob Melvin, to me, if I'm AJ Preller, that's when I go, dude, I'm done. Now I can go to Venezuela and scout. Now I can, worry about rebuilding the minor leagues. I just hired Bob Melvin. And from what I've heard and from what everybody pretty much knows, that hasn't been the most fruitful of relationships. So when I think about that, that's when I say, yeah, you have to adapt. I'm different to Paulie now than I was 2-3 years ago, right? Like, Paulie has complete autonomy to do whatever he wants. He's
carte blanche.
Yeah, you have carte blanche. He sent us last night the open he worked on. I went, great, fantastic, And so you have to adapt. And he's never adapted. He's always been the same guy. And when you got a little taste of success last year, this should have been the most hands-off year he ever had, and I'm not sure that it was.
All right, let's take a timeout. I do want to do Don't Do This. We can get back to more phone calls and more Padres talk at the bottom of the hour, but we have a couple of interesting stories, including some sad news about our favorite television program.
Bummer.
And remember our old NHL team, the one we cheered for about 2 weeks, 3 years ago when we first got here?
Yep.
They have a very interesting Don't Do This story.
This one is about as weird as it can get.
Cost him a coach before his very first game, even. We'll get to all of that coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Ben and Woods on a Monday morning. San Diego's #1 sports station. Let's check traffic right now on 97.3 The Fan. The NFL is back. Primetime games are available free from Westwood One and live here on 97.3 The Fan and on the Odyssey app. This Thursday, listen to the Giants and 49ers. Oh, my God, what's the spread going to be on that one? Right here on 97.3 The Fan at 4:30. Or simply download the Odyssey app and search for 97.3 The Fan at kickoff. I should be fair. The Giants did come back from 20-0 down at halftime to beat the Arizona Cardinals.
They were
yesterday and even their record
60-0. They'd been outscored in the first 6 quarters of the. I mean, that's not
Speaking
a
don't do this.
Yeah,
Yikes! But they did win that game. So I guess it's the yikes for the Arizona Cardinals, who remain in the running for 0-17 this year.
So I will get us started here. It's over before it ever started. Mike Babcock,
our beloved Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, his brief tenure is over. Never coached one single game for the club. He resigned and says this: upon reflection, it's become clear that continuing as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets was going to be too much of a distraction. While I'm disappointed not to have had the opportunity to continue the work that we've begun, I know it's in the best interest of the organization for me to step away at this time. I wish everyone well. Now, the allegations surfaced over the last week or so. There's a former NFL player named Paul Bissonnette, and he's very, very outspoken. He's got a podcast called Spittin' Chicklets, and he went out on the podcast.
Former NHL player, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. NHL.
You said NFL.
No, I said NHL.
Did you say
NHL?
NHL?
I said
I heard NFL.
I said NHL.
All right.
I think. Paulie can find out. So he goes on the podcast and he says that Babcock will be in meetings and go, hey, Ben, let me see your phone. And he will airplay it to like a projector screen and go through let's see what kind of summer you had. And go through a player's phone. I don't know what he's looking for. Nudes, probably, if I had to guess. But at one point, one of the guys on the team said, well, for me, he asked me if I had a family, and I said, great. He said, let me see your phone, and starts putting pictures up of this guy's family in there on the big screen.
Yeah, the innocent explanation is very innocent. It's like, oh, yeah, you've got, your wife and kids. Oh, let's see them. Oh, what a beautiful family.
Sure.
Can we show them to everybody?
Yeah, hang on. I'll show you right now. There's my kids right
yeah, exactly.
there. I hold it up, and there it is.
If that's it, then that doesn't feel like that's a problem at all. And that's how they were trying to spin this.
Correct.
With Mike Babcock and a couple of players, like, yeah, it's nothing. We were talking about my family. I asked, hey, can I see pictures of them? Can we show them to everybody? Sure, why not? I mean, that sounds very normal, actually.
Said that it does and it doesn't.
But then again, what you're saying does not sound normal at all.
Yeah, the kind of like, you're on the spot, let me see your phone right now, and I'm going to throw this up on the projector for all to see. And it said one player in particular was very comfortable as Babcock took his phone and looked at it for a very, very long time. I honestly, it's very, very strange. But Bissonnette said, he goes, I've heard from dozens of guys across the league that Babcock does weird stuff like this. He will invade players' privacy, and that's just something you can't do. So if it was completely innocent, I got to ask the question, why resign? If it was completely innocent and even a couple guys on the team had your back, again, he says it's because it would have caused a distraction. So I don't know. Very, very strange reason to get.
What are the last 5 pictures on your phone? Is there anything
from
embarrassing?
My weekend.
Mine are, let's see. I took a picture of a shoe for my wife because she wanted to see what the color looked like. She was trying to match it. There's a picture of a script so I could read a track. There is an accidental screenshot. I do that all the time of my screensaver.
Yeah.
Just an accidental screenshot. There's a picture of my auto insurance so I could sell it to my kid. I have the most boring phone scroll of history.
Mine are all me at Notre Dame this weekend.
There you go.
So,
that's a good vacation pictures. All right, I will just give you the bad news straight out on Don't Do This. Max, formerly known as HBO, announced yesterday that they are canceling Winning Time after 2 seasons.
Stupid.
And it comes at a really inopportune moment because yesterday was the season 2 finale, correct, of Winning Time? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I watched it last night.
But
it was the season 2 finale, and
which now becomes the series finale.
Yeah,
because they're not bringing it back. But they were setting up the whole show to get to the point where they get to finally play and beat Boston in the finals.
It felt like at the end of the episode, while the credits were about to roll, they did the screenshots, and it said the Lakers went on to win 3 more titles throughout the
Right,
80s. Like
right.
they did that whole bit, and you're like, oh, I guess that's maybe they had to make that adjustment
Yeah,
once the news
probably.
came down. However long that news came.
It would be like they made Lord of the Rings, but just stopped after the second movie instead of getting all the way through it.
Yeah, and then
You can't-
showed some pictures and said,
Yeah.
this is what happened.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Aragorn eventually became king, and they destroyed
If you
the
say
ring
so.
in the mountain at the end.
No idea what he's talking about.
Okay, I know you don't, but some people do. It's not a show you could just end in the middle. You had to keep going. You had to
Yeah.
go at least one more season.
Well, and it was just such a well done show. I'm really bummed.
Yeah.
I'm really bummed, and I'm assuming this has something to do with the strike and everything that's going on. But yeah, this is going to be probably the norm moving forward. If you think it's lean now, as you scroll through your 40 apps that I have, at least looking for something to watch, anything to watch. It's going to get really lean the longer that the writers and actors are on strike. So
There's a lot going on with the writers.
now,
strike over the
sometimes
last couple
shows that get canceled get picked up by other networks.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
I saw the suggestion Showtime should pick it up and
call it
rename
Showtime.
it Showtime, which is what it should have been named to begin with. But they didn't want to name it that because,
Like
of
when
course,
HBO cancels a
they
show,
were
do
HBO.
they maintain the rights, or do they let
for a
it
while.
go?
But
with
yeah,
the show?
I think at some point you have to relinquish them if you're not going to make.
But I mean,
anything
I
with
don't.
it.
You can't watch Sopranos on Showtime. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was an HBO show,
But
so
they didn't cancel
Like
it. That was,
seasons 1 and 2 of Winning Time will stay on HBO and Max. The app.
They blew it. It's such a good. You had to do whatever you had to do to figure that out. This is do this, I guess.
Sort of.
DD Mega Doo-Doo.
So the Tampa Bay Rays expected to announce a new deal tomorrow for a new stadium. Well, here's the bad part. It's going to stay in St. Petersburg, Florida, which I've never been. But I have heard what a nightmare it is to get there. I've heard that it does not belong there. We've seen the Rays have massive attendance problems over the years, Ben. They're basically ripping down the old stadium, putting up a new one. It's going to have it will have a fixed dome, not retractable. About 30,000 people will be able to attend games, which is actually fewer than can attend games now.
but much more than actually do attend games there. So
correct. Now, I think the problem is, again, most people that wanted the Rays to get a new stadium wanted them, I think, closer to Tampa. Is that right? They did not want to be in the St. Petersburg area. They're going to be still in the St. Petersburg area. So it's a don't do this and a do
I think
this.
for me, I'm glad that a team is, not moving. They threaten to go to somewhere else, Montreal, whatever. And I hate when teams relocate because they don't cave. The question to me is how much money is the public paying for this stadium? How much money is coming from the team? I saw a story in Oklahoma City. The Thunder are getting a new stadium, a new arena, so they don't move for 25 years. It's a $900 million arena. You know how much the team is paying? $50 million. $850 million from the city. I mean, it's just it's highway robbery when you threaten to move your team and you get so panicked they're going to leave because you know what? If you don't cave, you see what happens, and they do leave.
Move to Seattle
and you
or
lose
something.
and you
Back
lose your
to
team.
Seattle.
Or they
Yeah.
move to L.A. Or they move to Las Vegas, and you lose your team. So you're in a no-win situation because
So-
no one wants you to cave and give all this public money to billionaires to build a stadium. But if you don't,
they're gone.
You lose your team, and that's really sad as well. It's awful, and it's a terrible thing about professional sports right now.
So it's going to be public as well. It says the $1.2 billion stadium will be paid for with, quote, contributions from the Rays. Here's $70. The city of St. Petersburg and Pinellas County.
You know what we should have done for Don't Do This?
What?
Late to the party. Orioles clinching their playoff spot yesterday. They won after splitting their series against the Rays and got to do their champagne celebration after some lean years in Baltimore. And we had, of course, Adam Jones had his big day on Friday. We talked to him on Wednesday, signed his one-day contract. They lost that one, but they came back, won both games of the weekend, made the playoffs, as did the Rays, by the way. They also clinched a playoff spot when the Rangers lost. So they're both into the postseason.
Congrats to the Orioles for sure.
For sure. And that's Don't and Do This for a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
There's a former NFL player named Paul
Damn
Bissonnette. NHL is what I meant.
That would
There's
make
a
more
former
sense.
NFL player named Paul Bissonnette.
I thought I heard F.
Idiot.
Not H.
Very tired.
Yeah, you had a lot of travel this weekend. And then you got back and you immediately coached T-ball and went right into your weekend. That's tough.
I mean, I was like, I love these kids. I'll do anything for them. I was begging for the skies to open up, and it was drizzling lightly. I was like, please, God, one
Rain
time.
out.
It's T-ball. How much practice do we need? Some might say that's the...
Put in the work.
I did. I went out. Bo didn't even go. He was sick. So I went solo and coached up my new team, the Bulls. The Bulls. We make our debut on Sunday. So you guys are back to calling me coach now.
The Durham Bulls.
Yeah, we have the same
Nice.
logo and everything. I'm so excited.
All right, we've cleared out the phone lines, but if you want to join us again, we were talking about Manny. We're going to resume that conversation. The piece that came out on Friday morning in the UT, the Padres winning 4 in a row. Finally, too little, too late here at the end of the season, but we'll continue to discuss your thoughts. A.J. Preller's name has come up, Bob Melvin's as well. It's all on the table here with Ben and Woods. 833-288-0973. Back after this on 97.3 The Fan. All guests on Ben Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Jordan Shusterman, Cespedes Family Barbecue, will join us on a grand old Monday, 1 hour from now. Phone lines are starting to get relit. 833-288-0973. Talking Manny, talking AJ. The Padres finally with a 4-game winning streak. You know, it's kind of like the two best NFL plays yesterday. 4-game winning streak is amazing, but doesn't mean anything. Just like the Hail Mary by Russell Wilson. Last play of the game, tipped 3 times, caught it, but they didn't make the 2-point conversion.
And the ball landed on like the 5-yard
I know, it was
line
incredible.
and got tipped backward.
But then they didn't get the 2-point conversion, so it meant nothing. And then the lateral at the end of the Sunday night game when the New England needed a first down, Mike Gesicki, what awareness to realize I'm going to end up a yard short. And we need this, so I'm going to lateral it back to my offensive lineman, Cole Strange, who pushes forward, and they give him the first down. But then on review, turns out he didn't get there by half a football, and that didn't go for anything. Even though they were the 2 coolest plays in the NFL weekend, didn't mean anything at all, just like a 4-game winning streak likely doesn't mean anything at all for the San Diego Padres.
I'll tell you what, man, I was traveling most of the day yesterday. Got to watch a little bit of the NFL on the plane, which was kind of cool. Kills the time back from Chicago.
Helps.
It really did. It helped a lot. But I got
What's that flight? 4 hours?
Yeah, about 4. It was 3:26 on the way there. It was about a hard 4 on the way back.
Yeah, going into the wind.
Whew, mama, it was tough. But I got to sit down last night and settle in. The kids were asleep and watch most of the New England-Miami game. I got to tell you, man, Miami's pretty friggin' fun to watch play. Tua is really, I haven't gotten to see a lot of him. I know he's much maligned and all that, but man, he looked really, really dialed in when you got a Tyreek Hill, who probably should be in prison, but he's not. When you have a guy like that's that dynamic, you get the ball in his hands, Benny, good things happen. It was kind of a fun game to watch.
Yeah, Belichick tried to take away the big play, and he did, but the Miami Dolphins just went dink and dunked them
RPO style
down the field and got the job done. And they're 2-0. Interesting division with Buffalo bouncing back with a big win.
No turnovers for Josh Allen was huge.
Yeah, and then of course the Jets and their story, what's been going on. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers says he wants to come back for the playoffs.
Wild.
Had a innovative Achilles surgery from Dr. Neil Elatrosh that should have a speedier recovery, and if all goes well, he thinks he can play in January. But
you got to get there.
The Jets have to get there without him, and after yesterday's loss to the Cowboys, that seems like a long shot for the Jets. We'll see. The Cowboys I think they're legitimately good. Through 2 weeks, they look very solid, so you can't just dismiss the Jets completely because they lost to the Cowboys, but it does look like it's going to be hard for them to score points with Zach Wilson at quarterback.
The Niners' huge win in a sea of red jerseys at SoFi Stadium.
It's not just the Chargers fans. The Rams fans aren't showing up at that stadium either.
Good Lord. And they travel well. They're like Nebraska, the sea of red really, really travels, I guess, no matter what the team. But holy smokes, man. They looked good. They handled their business. Some good games yesterday. College football, though, on Saturday was pretty nuts. Was pretty nuts. So I went to the Notre Dame Central Michigan game, and I had forgotten. It had been so many years since I saw the Irish play at Qualcomm against Navy. That was Qualcomm. It was, half full, whatever. I saw them play at Soldier Field against Miami about a decade ago. That was pretty fun. I had not been to a game on campus in a long time. And to go through the whole rigmarole and watch the atmosphere. I showed you a video on my phone. We had phenomenal seats. To watch that campus explode on a Saturday, it had been so long for me, man. The nostalgia was crazy. I'd been to so many games there. They went out and handled business. Looked a little ugly at half, but came out, put up 41 points at the end of the day. So then we go to the game. We do the long, about 2-hour drive back to Chicago, drop us off at the hotel, get Bo all dialed in, showered, changed, food, the whole thing. And then I still had like an hour and a half before the friggin' Colorado game started, and I was exhausted.
That's right, because it started late here.
It started there at like
in
10.
Chicago. It's really late.
Yeah, it started at 8 here, right?
I think it was supposed to be 7, but they pushed it back because the earlier ESPN game went long. So I think it ended up being 7:20, so probably 9:20 in Chicago.
I was exhausted. We got up at 5 a.m. I looked at my my Fitbit. We walked 11 miles at Notre Dame that day. 11 miles.
And you were carrying Bo for a lot of that, probably.
Not really.
No,
I mean his little legs.
Wow.
Do you realize? I looked at our trip, and I know we're going to talk about more of the trip at 8, but I looked in the 4 days we were there. We walked 32 miles. That little 5-year-old and his little legs, 32 miles between.
Trooper.
100%, Paul.
Between museums and Wrigley
and
Field
Wrigley
and Chicago
and everything.
and Notre Dame. Wow.
It was amazing. And he handled it so well. Complained a little bit, but he's 5, you know.
I'd complain a little bit.
Oh, me too. I was exhausted. So I was so tired. All I wanted to do, because we had to get up early to catch a flight up at 5 again. I'm like, I got to watch this game. I had to force myself to watch that game. The Colorado State. Were you guys here, or did that happen Friday when the coach from Colorado State?
That happened Friday, so we didn't talk about sunglasses, hoodies.
And hats and everything else. So, again, they go and poke the bear, and I started watching that game, and I went, oh, Colorado State came to play. They absolutely are playing hard. And you saw some chinks in the armor for Colorado.
Line play being the main culprit.
Couldn't run the football. But I'm telling you, watching some of the playmakers on that team, namely Shedeur Sanders, and the 98-yard drive he led them on to tie that game was unbelievable. I mean, it was truly unbelievable. I was exhausted and listened to like the double overtime. I couldn't even watch anymore. I just put it in my earphones. I saw a lot of people say that was a terrible football game, and I go, man, that's a weird way to.
It was dirty. It was sloppy.
Yeah, it was
a lot
sloppy,
of penalties. I mean,
like
ridiculous number of penalties. So in that sense, it wasn't a crisp football game, but
it was a good game.
I mean, it was the best game of the weekend again. I mean, Colorado's 3 for 3 in being the most interesting team in college football.
No question about it. And I will say, with Travis Hunter being out, he's going to be out a few weeks. He's going to miss some huge games. I did think that was one of the dirtier plays I'd seen in college football. And I saw, there's always the guy on Twitter that's like, welcome to football, and I'm like, well, I watched college football for many years. I've never seen a player do that and not get ejected. Never. That's the first one I've ever seen. I've seen guys get ejected for way less than that. Very clearly late hit, very clearly dirty. Knocked him out, had to send him to the hospital. I thought it was a really dirty play. Then again, I also thought, that's what they wanted to do. Colorado State wanted to come out and hurt to them. They played like it. And they also played really sloppy football.
Like one of those bitter in-state rivalry
100%,
games where it goes far beyond the football field. It's cultural.
Yeah.
It's, Boulder versus Fort Collins. It's urban versus country.
Yep.
It goes much deeper than just a football game.
No question. And I don't know how to think about this weekend's matchup with Oregon. I don't. I feel like Colorado's probably going to get their doors blown off. I do.
I tend to agree.
That being said, would anything surprise you? I think with a quarterback like that can do pretty much anything and everything, you always have a chance. You definitely have a puncher's chance. But they're just, I think they're
How much more can Dion do to
100%.
get them even more fire? Well, now those first 3 were great, but now it's Pac-12 play. Now we got to even take this more personally and more emotional. At some point, you run out.
So I think it was Dan Wolken that tweeted, like, look, this has been really fun, but you cannot continue at this it's us against the world pace for the next 8 weeks or whatever it is. Like, you're going to run out of steam at some point.
All right, so this weekend, number 19 Colorado at number 10 Oregon. I don't know if you've looked yet. We haven't talked about this. What would you guess the line is?
13.
Who?
Oregon.
Woods?
I'll say 7.5 Oregon.
You guys are both way off. Oregon's favored by 20.5.
20.5. 3 touchdowns, not 2. You had 1. I had 2. It's 3 touchdown favorites.
That's obviously your motivation.
Yeah, there you go. No one believes in us.
They were
3-0. No one believes in us.
They were 24-point favorites, I think, against Colorado State.
Yeah.
They are now 20.5-point
dogs.
dogs.
And they were dogs in game 1 against TCU. They shocked the world. They did that. built off that. They're now 3-0.
Well, when you're 24-point favorites and you're down 10 in the fourth quarter, it's not a great sign.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. I mean, look what happened to Bama. Look what happened to Georgia this weekend. There was not a lot of great football. Notre Dame was up a touchdown at half against Central Michigan. They were 34.5 favorites. I mean, it happens. You're going to get teams' best effort when you have the bullseye on your back.
We'll talk more college football later this week. The slate this weekend, after 3 somewhat
phenomenal
meh slates of games, is phenomenal this weekend.
Your schedule on Saturday.
It is phenomenal this weekend.
How do I get my wife and children
out of the house?
Out of the house on Saturday night. They're not going to want to be around me as the Irish take on Ohio State. I fully believe
you're going to have to pay for them to go to Disneyland,
something,
SeaWorld, the zoo.
Yes. Just I think it's a late-ish game, like maybe 5:30. So but the whole slate of games is going to be fantastic this week.
Colorado, Oregon's 12:30.
Okay, good.
This weekend.
Stay up till midnight watching a football. It ended at 1:50 Chicago time.
I know we've kind of juggled things around. We talked so much Manny early in the show. I know Paul's original rundown that he tweeted out had us talking a lot of Manny here. So for everyone who's just tuned in for the Manny talk, we're going to continue to do that. In fact, we got our phone lines open, 833-288-0973. We'll get back to those right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
A couple style vehicles here. One of them is on southbound 805 at Bonita. It's in the center divide. And style vehicle over the right shoulder transition ramp, southbound 5 at the northbound 15. Still clearing an accident in the East County, westbound 8, right around Greenfield. Those cars are in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Woods, if you could just go back and undo the contract extension that Manny signed last offseason, would you? Would you go back and just say, you know what, never mind, and risk Manny opting out and becoming a free agent right now?
Honestly, I think. Well, we know too much. We know that this was such a down season for Manny.
We know, even as much as we know, I don't know that I would. I don't know that I'd change things. I think I still want Manny Machado around for the next decade.
Yeah, I do too. But here's the only reason I would do it, with hindsight being 20/20, is you do wonder.
The extension happened after the Xander Bogaerts signing.
Right. You do wonder, would this season have looked different for Manny if he was fighting for his dinner? Because it certainly looked different for Blake Snell, who's fighting for his dinner. I feel like Juan Soto next year will be fighting for his dinner. He still put up a really good season with 1 year left on his deal. Would it look different? Would it have been different? Would things have that's a risk I probably... No, I can't even say that with a straight face because I wanted the extension last year with Manny. I want him to retire a Padre. I do.
I mean, maybe you could have saved some bucks on the back end.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I don't care that much. That's Peter Seidler's money.
Yeah.
You know, I still want Manny around.
I do too.
I really do. I wonder if Padres fans feel the same way. Let's go out to the phones. Tim has been holding on in Oceanside before the top of the hour. Tim, welcome to Ben & Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing good, Tim.
Let me just touch on a couple of things real quick, and then I'll let you guys talk afterwards because I'm grabbing my breakfast. But Scott, Woods, you mentioned delegate. That made me think of how I've always coached and ran my businesses, but you left out about 4 other points of that. So my philosophy has always been, anytime you're trying to lead something or manage something, you need to coordinate, delegate, motivate, and educate. And then you need to go back and keep motivating.
Yeah.
If you follow those 4 steps, it's been successful for me. I mean, I've won over 80% of the games I've coached in over 30 years. My business is successful. So it's kind of a philosophy that I've always lived by.
That's a great
When
one.
it comes to A.J. Preller falls under the definition of insanity, and we all know the one that's always said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I think he's wore out his welcome, and I think he needs to probably move on. And then last thing, and I'll let you go, when it comes to Colorado and Dion being able to sustain what he has there now as far as motivational-wise, I think he can, because if you listen to that morning press conference on ESPN.
Yeah.
He's real.
Oh, absolutely. He's too real.
And if you're real, that rah-rah stuff isn't rah-rah stuff to the people you're preaching to.
Those guys would run
like-
through fire for him. They'd take a bullet for him, and there's no question. I mean, that's all they want to do is
You
win.
know, it reminds me because Marty Schottenheimer was very much that motivating, guy, but it wasn't real. And players kind of knew it. They knew it was fake. Marty was always looking for the angle on how to fire up his team.
It's a fine line, isn't it?
It is very fine.
Very fine
It's very
line.
fine. But Dion does project authenticity in that role, which is sometimes hard to do. And he's done a really good job so far.
The guy literally ranked his own children.
It's incredible.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Power
Child
rankings.
power rankings.
And he updates them.
Yeah, he updates them. And he laughs at the meeting. He goes, "You guys pretended like you don't rank your own children."
Right, come on.
Coming up next, Ben and I will rank our children here on Ben and Woods.
All right, we'll reset the show. We got a lot more to get to. Jordan Shusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue, all coming up. Oh, and we'll take on Woods next as well on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, halfway home on a Monday, Ben and Woods back together again. I don't want to leave you guys for that long again. There's some hot takes being spewed about.
Oh, my God.
Just nuts. Ben turns into Skip Bayless, and, we're here now, though. We're back together.
Lit a fire under Juan Soto this weekend,
Yeah, you
didn't
sure
I?
did.
Yeah.
You sure did.
That's what hot takes on the radio are all about.
I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, our executive producer. Created one of the most brilliant opens that you'll ever hear for a show. If you missed it, you can certainly go back and listen, or stay tuned. We'll play it into our segment with Sammy Levitt at 9:35. Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor and basketball coach.
That's right.
I was in Chicago with my son Bo on our annual father-son trip, and I saw a couple of pictures of you stalking the sidelines there. Did you call them sidelines in basketball?
Yes.
Yeah, stalking the sidelines, helping Paul's adult basketball team. Now, how did you do in your coaching debut?
I did outstanding.
You
so,
did? Okay.
yeah, Paul had been giving me an open invitation. His team, the Tier 1s, said, hey, they want you to come by and coach. And their games are on Thursday night. And finally, this last Thursday, Padres were off. It was a quiet night at work. So as soon as I got done with my 6:25 sportscast, I raced to Alliant University there in Tierra Santa, or wherever it is, to get there. The game was at 6:30, so I didn't make it in time for the start. And I pull up on the sidelines, and I find out we're already down 17
Oh,
points
my God,
without
before
me.
you've walked in.
I mean, obviously the game plan without me was trash. So
I'll
I
tell
quit.
you what the game plan was. Do what we did in week 1 when we played this team, because we beat them by like 40 points.
Oh.
We showed up. There was maybe one guy from that original team 6 weeks ago. They got like the 5 best players in the entire league.
They upgraded,
that
yeah.
Probably should not be at that level. And they came out on fire. They did not miss a basket. We go, what the hell?
But clearly, the moment I arrived, you could see a little spark in the step of Paul's teammates, because they went on an incredible run. We pulled within like 3. I mean, they were playing their butts off out there. I was working the referees, got us a couple of calls, terrible calls that went our way to help us get back in the game, which I get credit for. I was working them hard on the sidelines. What I didn't realize, though, is that when you get your team to go that hard, and they're a bunch of 30 to 40-something rec players, they're going to run out of gas.
Yeah, they run out of juice a little bit.
And with about 10 minutes left, they hit the wall, and that was about it. And we ended up getting our doors blown off at the end. And I'm now 0-1 as a head coach, but I think that's more on the lack of conditioning of my players rather than my coaching style.
That's a fair criticism.
Fair, yeah, very fair. The pictures, by the way, laid me out. I mean, absolutely priceless. I mean, Ben looks like an effing basketball
Honestly,
coach,
I
dude.
stood up there and I thought, if this had been
right.
my calling, I think I could have done this. I
there's
felt
no
good.
doubt.
I
We
felt
were
good up
walking
there.
out onto the court after a timeout, and Ben walked in, and I just hear, the effing coach is here, let's go!
I love it.
Everybody on the team was like, we gotta go, we gotta win this game.
The
now.
pictures were outstanding. So well done. In my absence, I was in my old stomping grounds. I called in. I told you guys a little bit about it on Friday, but a total nostalgia trip, man. Going back to Loyola.
Thank you for my Sister Jean bobblehead that you brought me here.
You can see it on the YouTube stream.
Yeah, we got that right there. Sister Jean, 104 years old
5,
now.
I think.
5,
Yeah.
and she's got her own bobblehead.
Yep. Went back to the old college, and walked around the old campus, and took Bo down to Wrigley Field. Now let me say this: if anybody in here has been to Wrigley Field, I don't know when this started, but
I went like 30 years ago.
Okay, so I got off the train at Addison, and Bo and I walked down and wanted to get the usual picture in front of the big red Wrigley Field sign. So we did that. Then I turned around and I looked behind me and I went, "Oh no. Oh no." Now I'm a guy who is all about progress. I love progress. I love, this is opening in your town and this is happening here. What they've done to the Wrigleyville area, in my opinion, is a travesty. I mean, it looks completely different. There's an Urban Outfit. They put Urban Outfitters everywhere. There's an Urban Outfitters on the corner. There's a Jamba Juice. None of the characters.
What do you have against smoothies?
I love smoothies. Put it 3 streets over. I mean, it
you want nothing but seedy bars.
Well, So I was thinking about it, and it's unfair.
In the block around Wrigley Field.
It's unfair.
Yeah.
You know, it is, because things are going to progress.
Yeah.
And there's a way, though. There's a way you can modernize without completely making it devoid of character, which it absolutely is now. It is. You wouldn't recognize it, honestly. Like, you would not recognize the Wrigleyville
downtown
area.
Disney.
Yeah.
But in the north side of Chicago.
100%. And I'm looking at it going, I cannot believe that this is Wrigleyville, one of the coolest areas in the country. Now, I'm still very much planning on going out for the Cubs-Padres series next year, and I will have a great freaking time in Wrigleyville. Make no mistake about it. But it's so different than it was. So that was one observation I made. The other one, man, the city of Chicago is much maligned lately. It was spectacular. Beautiful, clean as a whistle. And I mean as clean as you could ever want from a major, major city. Everywhere we went down by Soldier Field. We went all the way to Wrigleyville. We were downtown. We were staying by the lake. Dude, it was so magical.
Padres are there next year.
Yep, June, I think, right?
May.
Oh, May. Yeah, it's a done deal.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
It's a nice time to be in
6,
Chicago
7, and 8.
usually.
I'm thinking that's a show trip.
That's a show trip or a
I'm
wife
so
trip.
down.
That's going to be tough for me to get out of that with the missus, but she's more than welcome to come along. But, man, we had such an amazing time. And then, you know, making the drive to South Bend. So my dad set up a locker room tour. And so we got to go in. I've never gotten to do this, but we got to go in. We got to actually slap the sign, man, the Play Like a Champion sign. We got to go down onto the field before the game. I ran on the field when I was 11 years old, jumped over the stands and ran onto the field with my brother. But I've never gotten to walk down there, you know, and legally, I guess you could say. Getting that picture of Bo slapping the Play Like a Champion was like, it was a highlight of my life. It was just spectacular. So we had such a great time. It was a long trip. It was long. There it is. Yeah, Play Like a Champion Day. He's smacking the picture.
Cool.
He loved it. He got a little tired, got a little homesick, to be sure, but what a special week it was. So I appreciate you guys filling in a couple days and letting me go, and of course the bosses and the tier ones. But you know, this annual trip that we do is really special for me, and memories were definitely made. But I mean, the nostalgia was like cobwebs, dude. Walking around Loyola, walking around, you know, all the area I used to hang out in and work in, all the bars I worked at, they're all gone. I told you, crazy how much it's changed.
And you told me that you guys went out to a nice steak dinner, Gibson's.
Yeah, Gibson's.
And there were actually tier ones sitting next to you
right behind
in
us.
the restaurant.
In the restaurant, guys. I texted you their names because I wanted to remember. But we're sitting at the table. Bo and I were waiting on my dad, my Uncle Jack, to show up. And Bo's doing really good. First, like, gentleman's dinner. Got him in a nice little button down I bought for him. So we're sitting at Gibson's, one of the best steakhouses in the world. And I hear this convo behind me. And I hear Little Italy. And I'm like, oh, that could be anywhere. They have that in New York. They have it everywhere. And then I hear, yeah, blah, 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 Del Mar, blah, 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 La Jolla. And then the waiter looks over at them, and he's like, go Dodgers. And she's like, how dare you? We're Padres fans. So I poke my head up. I go, you guys are Padres fans? And the guy looks at me, and he's like, wait. I know you. You're on you're Woods. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I was just listening to you say you're going to Chicago and that you were going to Gibson's, and now we're here. So they had their little baby with them. Shout out to Sierra, James, and Otto. Otto is 6 months old, the sweetest looking kid.
So you didn't even have the youngest kid at Gibson's.
God no. So tier one's there, sitting right behind me. Had a nice convo with them, and it was about as special as a week. I'm need a second job to pay for all the money that I spent. It was ungodly how much money I spent.
Seal season's coming up here.
Yeah, it's true. Everything is so expensive. And little kid, I'm hungry. You buy my food, they eat one bite. You're like, all right, I guess I'm eating the rest of this PB&J. It was remarkable, though. It was just a remarkable
That's
trip.
awesome.
And, you know, the funny thing is like, it was so smooth. So smooth there. Left on time, landed on time, bags came right out, car was waiting for us, took us to the hotel, no problems. So I'm panicked about yesterday's travel day because you never bookend it with good travel. We got to the airport. It was pouring rain at O'Hare. I'm like, oh, we're going to be delayed. We weren't. Got out right on time. Bags came out. Jumped in the car, went home. It was as smooth of a trip as you could ever imagine. Bo did not make a peep on the way home. And let me shout out, by the way, a lot of people like to rip the airlines. When's the last time you guys flew American Airlines?
I think I had one of my legs earlier this year was American.
So their in-flight entertainment is perhaps the greatest in-flight entertainment. They have 7,000 options. I just logged in, free. In-flight entertainment. He watched 5 movies, didn't make a peep. I watched the Little Richard documentary, watched Good Will Hunting. They have everything. They have everything you could ask for.
Good golly, Miss Molly.
It was unbelievable. So they were phenomenal, got out on time, landed on time, bags came. It was great trip.
That's awesome, Woods.
It was
And
so
then
fun.
Paulie had a good steak dinner this weekend, celebrated his birthday. You missed his birthday you missed everybody's birthday this weekend.
I missed my wife's.
I texted her just to make sure she was doing okay without you. She said she had a good birthday.
I sent her some roses from the road,
that's
which I
nice.
thought was a smart move.
Classy move.
Classy
touch.
Yeah.
You had a good steak dinner as well, Paulie?
Yeah, a little staycation downtown. Had maybe the best steak of my entire
Nice.
life. It was great. Had a lot of fun.
It's awesome. Awesome weekend. I'm exhausted. I fully need a vacation from the vacation.
We always say that. The
But
vacation is more exhausting than the work.
You need the post-vacation vacation.
When I got home yesterday about 12:30, and I just was looking at the clock, knowing that I had t-ball practice at 3, and I was just like, oh my God. But good practice, and it was good to be back, man. Never gets old flying in here, that's for sure. So thanks for everyone commenting on the pictures and stuff. We had such a great time. And can't wait to plan the next one. Got to bring Taylor on the next one, though. Now it's going to be me and 2 little boys from here on out, I'm
All
sure.
right, let's, you know what, we're a little late to start Take on Woods. Let me throw out the number. We'll do it when we come back. If you want to play Take on Woods, chance to win a trip to Las Vegas. Our musical trivia challenge, 833-288-0973. That's the number to call. We'll talk some more baseball and Padres coming up. Jordan Shusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue going to join us at the bottom of the hour. The National League wildcard race is nuts right now. I mean, the Cubs, who looked like they were cruising to a playoff spot 2 weeks ago, would not be in. If the season ended today, they'd be out on a tiebreaker with the Marlins and the Diamondbacks now getting the last 2 playoff spots. But the Reds are only a half game back. And the Giants, as poorly as they've played, they lost 3 or 4 to the Rockies. They're still 2 games out. They're not done either. And the Padres are still dreaming of a 16-game winning streak to end the season that could get them back into contention. But they're 6 games out, and it looks very unlikely. We'll talk about all of that coming up. But if you want to play Take on Woods, get online. We'll get to that coming up next. This segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by the Golf Mart. We'll be right back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Just heard that promo in the break. The Bellator MMA coming to Pechanga Arena. We're going to give away a couple of tickets coming up here after Take on Woods. First, though, very important, Talk Saves Lives. Join us for Odyssey's I'm Listening special. It's our annual 2-hour national mental health conversations coming up this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Hear from big names in music and sports. It's all a constructive, supportive conversation about our mental wellness. Do it every year. It's really important. It's here on 97.3 The Fan and the free Odyssey app. For more, visit imlistening.org. Remember, talk saves lives. All right, we put it off from our first hour. Are you ready?
I'm ready,
It's been
bud.
a few days.
Yep.
All right,
Been a
let's
while.
get to it. Let's take on Woods. All right, let's bring on our contestant, John. Thank you for calling in. How you doing this morning?
Doing all right.
All right, John, you get 5 questions, and then Woods is going to take on the same 5 questions. If you beat or tie him, you will qualify for our 2-night stay grand prize drawing at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and a private VIP pot at the Westgate Superbook with a $250 food and beverage credit. You get to pick the category. Gives you a little advantage here as Woods has left the studio. Here are your choices. We've got song sequels. Those are songs that are or have sequels, kind of like movies. We have From A to A. Those are 5 bands whose names both begin and end with the letter A. And we have Wait for Me, Part 2. We did one like a week ago. Those are 5 song titles that end with the word me. So of those 3, John, song sequels, From A to A or Wait for Me, Part 2, what would you like to try?
I'm going to go with From A to A.
From A to A. All right, again, 5 bands whose names both begin and end with the letter A. You'll have 60 seconds to answer as many as you can. If you don't know an answer, say pass. We can come back to it if there's time left on the clock. First song is our 2-second song. Paulie plays a short clip. You need to give me both the title of the song and then the artist, the one that starts and ends with A, to get credit for that one. We'll go on from there. John, are you ready to play?
I believe so.
All right, put those 60 seconds on the clock, Paulie. The category From A to A. John, your time starts when Paul plays our music. Good luck. Let's take on Woods.
Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Correct. Ironically, which band famous for songs including A Horse with No Name was formed in London?
Pass.
There would be no Take on Woods without Take on Me from which band?
Oh, God. Pass.
Which yacht rock band responsible for hits How Much I Feel and Biggest Part of Me shares a name with a common Thanksgiving side dish?
Pass.
Members of Yes, the Buggles, and other bands joined together to form which supergroup best known for the 1982 hit In the Heat of the Moment?
Is the heat of Africa?
Oh, close. Wrong. Ironically, which band famous for songs including a Horse with No Name was formed in London?
America.
Yes, there would be no Take on Woods without Take on Me from which band? Oh, well, you got...
Did you give him the 2?
He said
got
Africa
2.
first. It was Asia. He thought of it later. I got to take his first answer, though. Come on, this is a game show. You know how it works. The first answer goes.
Gotta have integrity.
You did get America coming back on that one. Horse with No Name. You got Dancing Queen by ABBA. Give you 2 points. Take on Me, the theme song to Take on Woods, is by Aha. And Ambrosia sings Biggest Part of Me and is also a Thanksgiving side dish. Don't know if that's going to be enough, John. You can hang on the line just in case. Bring Woods back in. We'll reset everything. See how his mind's working after his long, tiring travel weekend. He doesn't get the category. Makes it harder for him. All right, get the camera all set back on him. All right, 60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on John.
It's Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Correct. Ironically, which band famous for songs including A Horse with No Name was formed in London?
America.
Correct. There would be no Take on Woods without Take on Me. From which band?
Aha.
Which yacht rock band responsible for hits How Much I Feel and Biggest Part of Me shares a name with a common Thanksgiving side dish?
Ambrosia.
Correct. Members of Yes, The Buggles, and other bands joined together to form which supergroup, best known for the 1982 hit In the Heat of the Moment?
Is it Asia?
It is,
Oh,
and
wow.
that is a perfect 5 for 5 in the category from A to A.
Oh, good.
All bands that start and end with the letter A. John, thanks for playing. He got 2, but you start the week off with a perfect note and a win.
That's how you do it.
And Take on Woods. Well done. We'll play
Love
again.
Ambrosia.
I
love the band and the
side
salad.
dish.
It's one of my favorite.
What was the clue? A Thanksgiving side dish?
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat, Loon God, says a casserola.
Casserola. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Ambrosia salad. My wife gets repulsed when I eat it near her, but I'll eat it by the vat.
I mean, come on. Anything with marshmallows in it
Delicious.
is good.
Yeah.
Marshmallows on
It's
the
like some-
yams, marshmallows in the ambrosia. You don't
Pineapple.
like marshmallows in the yams.
No, I
You
don't
just-
like yams.
Oh, you just okay.
Sweet potato pie.
Mm-mm.
You just take the marshmallows off the top.
If
and
they
eat
called it
those.
something else, like if I didn't have potato in my mind, I think I could eat them. But I'm like, potatoes aren't supposed to be sweet.
You know, it's crazy. We're just 2 months away from Thanksgiving.
Jeez, dude.
I
really?
went to Costco yesterday. And you know how you get inundated with Halloween decorations, even though Halloween's not for a month and a half?
Yeah.
There was no Halloween decorations. It was all Christmas. It
Really?
was
Wow.
all Christmas trees, Christmas lights. It's still summer, people, and we are already in Christmas season at Costco.
Pulled up to the house yesterday and parked in the driveway, and Bo goes, Dada, pumpkins. Hannah already has all the pumpkins outside. I walked inside. There were 50 pumpkins. Taylor slept with them the night before. He loves pumpkins. He literally has the little tiny pumpkins.
Yeah, baby pumpkins.
Slept with them. Loves them.
That's his baby?
That's his baby. He's like, he loves, Dada, we got pumpkins. First thing he said when I walked in the door. Gave me a hug. He goes, Dada, we got pumpkins. They lose their mind. So
They know they're just a vegetable, right?
yeah, trust me. They just like playing with them, rolling them around, sleeping with them, I guess.
Honestly, if it weren't for Halloween, would pumpkins even be a thing anymore?
I don't think
I mean,
so.
Who would ever buy a pumpkin,
pumpkin.
if it wasn't for Halloween?
You know, it's funny. There's a lot of the things that you could say like that when you go to the grocery store, right? Like, we buy coconuts in my home because my kids like to smash them with a hammer because they love the movie Castaway. And they love to drink the milk like he does and all that. Who buys a coconut? If you need coconut, you just get a bag of coconut. No one is like, no, the way I do it, how do you even get it? Like, how do you even get like real, a grater or something?
Yeah, and then dry it out, I think. If
There's
you want
so many
like flaked coconut.
There's so many fruits in there that you see, you're like, I'm not doing that. I'll just buy it all cut up. I'm not like a pineapple. Does anybody buy a real pineapple and chop it up? I don't think so, right?
Shelley's done it a couple of times, but she's very chefy.
Yeah, I think I've done it one
It's
time.
a pain in the butt.
It's a
It
huge
really
pain.
is.
Yeah, there's all kinds of fruits in there that you don't really need. They've simplified it for you.
Yeah. I mean, remember when watermelons used to have seeds all
Yes.
in them?
Yeah, I bought one recently. I bought one of those little mini ones, and I took it home full of seeds.
I hear the old,
It's like, forget it.
you shouldn't be eating genetically modified organisms. It's like,
modify away.
Hey,
dude.
go ahead. If they can take the seeds out of things, I am all for that.
100%.
I don't need to be spitting seeds out all over the
GMO
place.
me all day as long as there's no seeds in my watermelon, my friend.
All right, as I promised, we got a giveaway right now. You can call in, win a pair of tickets, Bellator MMA 300. Their 300th show, fight, bout, whatever you call it, is coming to Pechanga Arena on October 7th. Tickets are on sale now at access.com. That's AXS.com. But the third caller at 833-288-0973 going to win a pair right now to Bellator MMA 300 at Pechanga Arena. Call now, and then we'll come back with Jordan Shusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue. Get his thoughts on the Manny article over the weekend and the pennant races in Major League Baseball. That is coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Congratulations to Colin, won the Bellator MMA tickets. We have another giveaway coming up next hour, giving away passes for the Power Trip Festival coming up. When is that? I don't have any of the details. In October. So that's next hour's giveaway. We got Jordan Shusterman standing by. First, though, this hour of Ben and Woods is brought to you by California Coast Credit Union. Get a 4.48% APR auto loan at California Coast Credit Union with no payments for 90 days. Offer valid with CalCoast car buying service discount. Interest accrues immediately. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA. Visit calcoastcu.org. All right. Lots of those last 2 weeks are going to be pretty insane with teams fighting it out for the National and American League wild cards. The AL West title is still very much up for grabs. AL East title and the top record in the American League is up for grabs. We'll discuss it all with Jordan from Cespedes Family Barbecue right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto Family, here's Kelly Danick.
Just one problem, guys. Got a crash being cleared from middle lanes on northbound 805 right before University. Seeing a huge backup behind that. And Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Oh, it's a grand old Monday, and joining us on our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline, our friend from Cespedes Family Barbecue, Jordan Shusterman, back with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning, Jordan.
Good morning, gentlemen. A pleasure as always. They did it. I'm sure you guys have been celebrating all morning.
We're hammered.
4 in a row. Oh, we had an intro to the show this morning Paul created that it was legendary.
Legendary. I'm hammered right now. We've been sipping on champagne and Bud Lights and just having a ball in here.
As you should. I think actually that crazy Orioles clubhouse celebration was actually also about the Padres winning.
100%, man.
I'm really excited for you guys.
So you're an M's fan, baseball fan first, but M's fan is the M's are the team you root for. Little dicey for you right now these last couple of weeks.
How's it feel to get smacked around by the Dodgers? We know that feeling all too
Yes,
well
we
here in
do.
San Diego, unfortunately.
You guys just made it look easy last week.
Yeah,
I don't know what the big deal is. Yeah, no, it's true. It wasn't just like, listen, losing a series to the Dodgers is essentially never you can never feel bad about that. But the particularly getting your ass whooped by the Dodgers hangover lineup, that's another, which like you could sort of see coming, but like in a season when, first Freddie Freeman off day of the year and the Mariners are already spiraling and they've just had so many just really flat performances, particularly on offense at home, going up against like Shelby Miller, opener, then former Mariner Ryan Yarbrough. I mean, it just had every recipe for just like the ultimate kick in the pants. At the same time, Texas fell on their face too, right? And so now you kind of have a situation where you can kind of pretend like the weekend never happened, and now you move on and hopefully do what the Padres just did to Oakland.
Yeah, the Astros won one game and actually improved their position atop the division standings. It wasn't a red letter weekend for the American League West, to be sure.
And you're seeing a lot of this, Jordan, and certainly we know it well. And that's the thing that, like, I'll be drifting peacefully off to sleep at night, and it'll pop in my head about what an absolute soil job that, the Giants have done at times, the Diamondbacks have done at times, the Reds have done at times. I just said the Giants.
Oh, you did.
The Giants, the Reds, the Marlins at times, and you're like, my God, this was here for the taking. I mean, if there was ever going to be a year, this is the year, and it's kind of this, going the same way right now in the AL too. And I know you're probably feeling that. And these games against the A's that you should win, it's worse. These are worse. This game's going to kill you tonight.
I know. No, it's so true, and it's interesting, particularly when you look at the AL West and for the Mariners in particular. And when you get this late in the season, it's hard to really fall completely out of it. But as you mentioned, like we've seen it with the NL for the last 2 months, where you keep assuming teams are going to be able to fall out of it, and then they bounce back with the 4-game win streak or whatever. But for the Mariners, I mean, yes, you got to win these games against Oakland, of course. But then you finish with Texas and Houston, right? 7 more against Texas. So it is very much in their hands in that sense, but it's also going to be all the more stressful. And also, you play the strength of schedule game. I fall into this every year. I mean, look where we were a week ago. We're like, oh, well, Houston's got Oakland and Kansas City coming up, so they're probably going to win the division by the next time we talk. And then here they are, still barely any better than where they were a week ago. So it's just a weird time of year. And honestly, I know, the Padres certainly took care of Oakland this week, but those bad teams, Kansas City in particular, as horrible as their record is, and their pitching is capable of losing any game in a hurry. That offensive group, even for Oakland too, like they got some fight, and of course they're a bad team, but they don't care. Like they're trying to win because they're just trying to go home happy. So it's not going to be that easy, even in Oakland for Seattle this week.
Talking to number one Eggy Rosario fan Jordan Shusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue, and you probably saw it. We've been talking about it. The piece on culture and clubhouse issues that came out on Friday in our local paper, the Union Tribune, centering mostly on Manny Machado. And we were talking about leadership questions. And Woods brought up a great point, because you're a Mariners fan. I mean, they're having a decent season, although, right now wouldn't be in the playoffs if it happened. But you look at that team and go, who's the leader on that team?
Who's their leader?
I mean, does every team have to have a leader that steps up in the clubhouse? How do you think that works, Jordan?
Yeah, it's a fascinating dynamic, and I think that it's easy to just lean on who's the best player, right? And the Padres are a fascinating case of that, right? Because the best player is kind of depends on the week, and Juan Soto has been by far their most consistent player, but we also know we don't know if he's going to be there long term. And I think one of the more interesting parts of that piece that you're referring to is I think Manny himself kind of acknowledging by name, like the guys that are locked in there for the long term, like Bogarts, like Cronenworth, right? Like Tatis, right? Like those are the guys. He doesn't mention Soto, and why should he, right? Like that is an interesting thing. And I know a lot of Padres fans want to see Soto kind of lock in for the long term. So it depends, right? Who's invested? Who do you know is going to be there? Who's being built around? Who is the best player? I think for Seattle, I think weirdly, you might not know this if you're not a Mariners fan, it's J.P. Crawford, right? It's not Julio. Not that Julio's the wrong answer, but J.P. Crawford's really been the guy, especially since he's kind of been there since before they kind of ascended to this, since he came over in that trade, 4 or 5 years ago. He's the kind of guy, but it is different on every team, and there's no right or wrong answer. And it's really, and I think that there is some truth to what Manny's saying, which is that, like, listen, when you're winning, nobody cares who's the leader in the clubhouse. And in some cases you can overcome that, and in some cases you can't. So it's a conversation that it makes sense, is great fodder for speculation and everything. But man, as great as the reporting as we have on so many of these situations, we just have no idea what's actually going on in there. For as much time as these guys spend together, it's always going to be hard to really know for sure what the issue is.
It's really funny too, because if memory serves, Jordan, and you'd know this probably off the top of your head, there was a similar piece written about the Mariners, and I want to say it was around this time last year. Now, they ended up making the playoffs and fought so hard against Houston, and some of the best playoff baseball you will ever see. But if memory serves, it was...
Who did they shipped out Graveman?
Kendall Graveman.
Well, that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago, but there was...
Graveman was 2 years ago. This was a big deal. And the Mariners have had an interesting clubhouse dynamic since... a lot of it is because, since Dipoto's come in, he's obviously turned over the roster a lot of ways. And Kyle Seager was really like the last kind of remnant of that. And then he finally moves on, and then they finally win without him. But yeah, and again, it's interesting how you see some teams. I think back to a situation like Milwaukee last year, right? Where they trade Josh Hader for a trade that at the time seemed weird, and their season went off the rails and it looked bad. Remember, they got Esteury Ruiz, they trade him, they get William Contreras, and like that has ended up being a huge trade for them, right? And it has set them up in a better position moving forward. Although at the time, the Brewers clubhouse was like, what the heck? And, sometimes you have to say, front offices do need to consider this versus the other way around. Now, the Padres case, this isn't a situation where we're talking in June and we're wondering what needs to change, right? We're talking about this in September at the end of a lost season. Although, I don't know, I'm looking at those 0.2% playoff odds. I'm feeling kind of good this morning, guys. I got to be honest. I think we might want to fight for it. But, it's a different setting. And going into the offseason, maybe that is the question of what kind of changes do you make. But this roster is really this, that's the thing. And that's why when Machado references those guys, it's like, these are the guys that are going to be there. So they're going to have to figure it out to get better together no matter what.
Talking to Jordan Shusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue. And I imagine you and Jake, just knowing... how fun-loving and baseball-loving, that you've got some thoughts on Bartolo Colon, who finally, at age 50, is officially announcing his retirement. Now, one of his greatest career accomplishments came at Petco Park. You know what I'm talking about, right?
course, I remember it well.
Led, of course, to James Shields being traded like a week later for one Fernando Tatis Jr. So in some ways, it's a good memory for the Padres. But I don't know. Bartolo Colon always feels like one of those things that we love about baseball, right? You don't have to be a perfect specimen to be a contributing great baseball player.
Yeah, it's crazy. I never really pieced together that trade happened so soon after he allowed that home run. That makes all the sense in the world, but I never really linked those two moments in time together. The thing that I always think about with specifically the Bartolo home run is like that was the grand finale to pitchers hitting, right? We knew even at the time, even when we didn't know for sure the universal DH was coming in, but that kind of felt like, all right, like, let's wrap it up. That was it. We Bartolo homered. We don't really need to see pitchers hit anymore. And honestly, like I kind of felt that way. Like after that, I was like, great. Like we can be done with pitchers hitting. I don't need to watch this anymore.
Me
so
too.
That's what I think
I'm glad you said that because I was always more of a purist National League fan. Like I like the double switch and the pinch hitter and the strategy that goes with it. And Woods kept hammering me as an American League fan growing up. The DH is the way to go, Ben. The DH is the way to go. And they finally made the change. And eventually I realized that Woods was right and I was wrong.
Yeah,
and it's a better game without pitchers.
Watch Chris Paddock hit and then watch Blake Snell hit. And you're like, I never want to see this again. This is terrible.
I was going to say the two things on that. One is because I've been pro DH forever, regardless of my fandom. It's just like, this is silly. The one thing is, wow, imagine this Padres offense.
Oh, my God.
Pitchers hitting.
Oh, my God.
But the second thing is, to your point, Ben, you like double switches. It's like, okay, sure. But are people going to the stands and are they cheering the manager when he goes out there and tells the umpire what defensive switches they made? No, that's not what happens. No. We want to see big guys, come in and hit home runs, which has been mixed results. I think that's maybe one of the other hilarious takeaways about the universal DH recently is it's like you would assume that all these teams would have all these great hitters like ready to slot in, and that's just like so not been true. Like there have been so many teams rolling out not good hitters at DH because they're just not as deep as they need to be. So, but either way, I mean Bartolo in general, I mean what a bizarre career. I mean there's so many different parts to it, and the fact that he like what a strange thing to retire as a Met. And he paid for what 6 other teams before that. He doesn't get there until he's 41. Like the whole thing about it is just a great example of how bizarre his career was. But yeah, salute.
Yeah, salute to Bartolo Colon. It's our pal Jordan Shusterman on from Cespedes Family Barbecue on a grand old Monday here on Ben and Woods. So, I know you know enough players and have talked to enough players. Going back to that article that was written, the culture, the winning, does winning breed culture? Does culture breed winning? I think you can make an argument for both. I really do. I think, a guy like Jason Hayward steps into the Dodgers locker room and he's now 860 OPS, the highest of his career. I mean, that says something to me. That says whatever they're doing is right. That's the right way to do it. Now, October is typically a scary time of year for them. We'll see how it works out then. But, listen, I wonder, you've talked to enough players. What have you heard about Padres culture, if anything?
Yeah, for sure. I think when I talk to people about the Padres and talking to people who are around it or just like observing, and I think that they are a great case, especially now when we think about Preller being there for as long as he has, and you think about what is the ethos of this organization, and especially when you compare to the Dodgers of the consistency, and of course you could say the Dodgers have failed because they haven't won more World Series. Sure, at the same time they haven't been bad once, right, at any time for 12, 13, 14 years. And there are only so many teams that can say that. So when you talk about culture, you talk about consistency, and you talk about a group of some level of reliability, and that what you're getting, and that what the expectations in terms of preparation and execution are when it comes to the Los Angeles Dodgers, no matter who is coming into the team. And that is where you start to question the instability and the roster turnover of a team like San Diego. And I think that there's a lot of things that Preller has obviously done extremely well to put this team in position to have a roster that we all were excited about. But there is another thing. There's another thing that happens next, which is to know how to win. And while they did demonstrate that last year, you could still say some of the ways that they disappointed in recent years with also, good rosters is an example of there's not consistency, there's not reliability, and it's not. I mean, I've made the joke before, like it's just not fantasy baseball, and that's not about like you play it on paper or you got to go play the games. But like, I'm sorry, as cliche as that is, there are only so many teams you can actually count on, no matter how many players are coming in and out of teams like Los Angeles, where their roster's turning over too, and yet there is some level of foundational stability there that only so many other teams can say. And I think Atlanta's another great example of that in the National League too. You just got to bet on that. We got so excited about all the Mets additions. Sorry, that's not an organization that I'm going to trust to definitely perform and win in the same way.
It's such a catch-22, not just for the Padres, but really for any organization that's not having consistent success, but needs to find some consistency. Do you stick with guys that aren't working, like hitting coaches? Padres have gone through truckloads of them.
Yeah.
Or do you just say, all right, I know it didn't work this year, but we're sticking with you, and we're going to stick with you for another season? There's a lot of teams that do that, and they go, now we're just stuck with a terrible coach for 3 years because we're trying to be consistent. It's a catch-22.
Yeah, and again, like that's the other thing is we're so quick to look at hitting coaches. We're quick to look at, and by the way, I mean we all know this, but it's not a lie that the Padres have had one of the unluckiest teams in the history of the sport. Like that is true. Like, and some of that you can blame them for, and some of that is just it's one of the weirdest years we've ever seen. And when we move on from this team, that you can't just completely ignore that part. At the same time, a lot of it's more subtle than who's the hitting coach, who's the pitching coach, who's the GM, who's the manager. Again, I go back to the Dodgers. There's just so many people involved in helping the Dodgers succeed whose names you don't know. And that is sometimes the secret to the success in a way that you just can't, it's not as spicy or easy to talk about on the radio, but like that is just the kind of infrastructure that you don't necessarily see, but you cannot deny is in place.
Yep.
And so that's the kind of stuff, the small things, and that is in terms of preparation. Maybe that is involved with the hitting coaches and stuff like that. But like those are the things, especially when you talk about how guys transition to the major leagues when they do get called up. All of those things is just such a big part of winning baseball games on a regular basis that we don't necessarily see.
Got to wrap it up, Jordan, but I thought you should know. Did you know there's only 2 teams in Major League Baseball that don't have a 5-game winning streak all year long, and the Padres can become out of that group tonight.
Nationals?
Yes, I think it's at the National. I could have the Royals or the Nationals, one of the two.
I think it's the Nationals.
So this is their chance tonight. We can celebrate again if the Padres get a win over the Rockies tonight.
Hey, and the Rockies, they're feeling frisky after that series against the Giants. So don't sleep on Colorado too much.
We never do, man. We never do.
No, they always come up
It's a
and
big
get
game
us.
for us tonight, Jordan. We need this one.
Huge. Thanks, Jordan.
W5. I mean, keep those champagne bottles close.
Yeah,
okay?
Got it, buddy.
That's Jordan Shusterman from Cespedes Family Barbecue on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads, and visit Grand Ole Barbecue, open Wednesday to Sunday in North Park or at the ballpark. Love their brisket, best in town, best west of Austin, I would say. It is always so good. Quickly, just a reminder, you can tune in to Kickoff with Boomer and Valenti every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. here on 97.3 The Fan. Biggest stories in the NFL, picks, and more. Always live on the free Odyssey app and here on 97.3 The Fan. Presented nationally by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos, brought to you by those who drink it, and by Lowe's. Lowe's knows home improvement. All right, we got 1 hour to go. If you missed our incredible open, we'll come back to that when Sammy joins us at 9:30. But Paulie's got Reindl Report coming up next. We have new sports rappers, not just the Padres dads, but it's expanding. It's getting worse.
This is unreal.
It's coming up next here on 97.3 The Fan. said it before. I will say it again. As disappointing as this season has been, frustrating, tear your hair out. I mean, just the conversations about run differential alone have been maddening.
They have been maddening.
And I'm
Thank you
responsible for most of them.
thank you for acknowledging that.
I will be sad when it's over because this is it. Last homestand of the season begins tonight. 6 more games, 3 against the Rockies. Day off on Thursday, 3 against the Cardinals. Then 1 week on the road. And then that is that, as they say.
I was thinking about that yesterday. I think I'm ready for a break.
I am too.
And
I think for the first time
never
in my
say that.
life.
I always, the darkest of seasons, you always say, hey, we're going to miss it when it's gone. We're going to be in November and December. God, I wish I had Padres baseball. I'm ready for a little break.
I am too. It's been the most frustrating season I can ever remember, based on expectations, obviously. But yeah, I usually am of that ilk to say, man, I sure am going to miss this. This team has given me agita, given me a heartburn, made my hair gray, no explanation.
So it makes you mad that they're playing some of their best baseball of the season.
100%.
6-3 road trip.
It does nothing for me.
And I know the A's, but they also went to Houston and the LA Dodgers on this road trip as well. I mean, I think
it's not, I guess it's
quite
not,
easily their best road trip of the season.
No question. And of course, when the fire is turned off the stove, no problem.
It's so interesting that so many of the lineups featured a bunch of guys that are, afterthought players. Honestly, not to be rude about it, but Eggy Rosario and Jose Azocar hit his first career home run on this trip. And,
good for those guys.
Matt Batten's playing almost every day.
Both things can be true.
Jurickson Profar was a late season, just nothing pickup. And yet the Padres are winning now. What does that tell you, that the guys who were playing before, were they the problem? Was, Joe Musgrove's not pitching now. I can't believe he was the problem. Jake Cronenworth obviously had a tough season, but is it good that they're out now? I mean, Manny and Juan and Fernando and Bogarts are still playing most every day.
Yep.
Manny sat down a couple of times. Obviously, he can't play third right now, and that's important. But the Padres are now winning. Is there anything we can take from this? Like, why? What is it about now? What is it about these guys? What's different from before? Because it's not like Xander Bogaerts wasn't in the lineup all year, and it's not like he's not there now. He had a great road trip, great series. Juan Soto, of course, had a huge weekend. They're the same guys. What's different? I don't know.
No pressure. None. Zero. You're out of it.
Well, there's going to be pressure again next year.
Yeah. Yeah, you better figure out a way early in the season next year. Whatever you need to do in the offseason. I've said it before, I'll say it again.
It's not like they're not cool customers, though. Like, they don't get up and look like they're panicked because the game's on the line.
Xander said after a month here, yeah, it's like when we get down a run, everyone's shoulders just slump. And I'm like, what are you saying? What are you talking about? Like, you played in Boston with the tough media and the Red Sox fans. Like, you're bummed because you're down a run? Like that, I don't want to hear that from the guy we just gave $280 million to. It's not just on him. I don't need Manny.
Those don't look like guys where the pressure. You don't get to this point.
Well, look at
without coming through under some pressure.
Look at their numbers in close games and late in games. They're all terrible except for Juan Soto. Juan Soto's been the only guy that's hit with runners in scoring position all season. That's it. Leads the team by far.
Doesn't Tatis have close to 300 with runners in scoring position? I don't know.
I mean, listen. At the end of the day, everything they said was wrong at the beginning of the season. Hey, don't worry about us. We're going to be fine. They believed the hype. We believed the hype. Everybody believed the hype, and I think they thought magically it would turn around, and it obviously never did. But man, some of the stuff I've heard this year it's baffling to me. I've never heard it on winning teams. I've never heard it on losing teams. I mean, we're the Jets now at this point. Truly, you got the Jets are imploding. You see, yesterday you had Sauce Gardner going after fans, deleted his account. You had Bryce Hall, the running back, tweet out four footballs because he only got 4 carries in the game. I mean, this team has been imploding since the first month of the season. Honestly, like when Xander came out and said that, I had a huge issue with it then. I still have a huge issue with it now. We get down a run and we feel like the game's over. Like, what? You guys know better. You know better. He knows better. The fact that this team is playing well right now actually infuriates me. It actually makes me. I honestly, man, I couldn't care less what happens the next 2 weeks. Honestly, I could not give less of an F about what happens. I don't care. The season's lost. You wasted it. You kicked it around. You know, whatever got in the way, got in the way. The last 2 weeks. Now I'll be pulling for Eggy. I'll be pulling for Sugar. I'll be pulling for Campy. All those guys, hell yes.
You're not pulling against Juan
No,
Soto
hell
or
no.
anyone.
I'm not
so
pulling against them.
You're kind of pulling for everybody still.
But I'm Xander drives in a run with a runner on second. Like, where was that in April, bro? That's when we needed it. You know, that's why we brought you here. And I understand the risk. I'm sympathetic to it. I'm sympathetic to Manny's ailments, playing through them. I do respect it. I'm sympathetic to what Tatis has gone through. I was sympathetic to Jake Cronenworth and his struggles early in the season. I'm a sympathetic guy, and I love this team. But this team is infuriating, and they have infuriated me this season, and I cannot wait for the last out to be recorded of 2023. I'm pissed we're going to have to go back and revisit it. I wish we could flush it down the crapper and never think about it again. It's been that excruciatingly up and down, feast or famine. It's so unsustainable for a baseball team to have a feast or famine. It's just so, and for the fans, it's even worse. Oh, my God, 10. Look at 10-1. We just won that game. Look at these guys raking. Next game, rookie pitchers pitched 4 innings in big league, 4 innings in the big leagues, shut you out for 7. It just doesn't make sense. So I'll watch, I guess. I didn't see a damn thing since I left. Not a damn pitch. Not one pitch. Didn't watch a pitch yesterday. I was coaching. There's other stuff I'm interested in right now. That's just
I was in vacation mode.
Yeah,
even
that's
here
just
in San Diego.
and
I didn't watch anything. I've gone on trips before where we're planning our week or our time away. Let's go to the bar and watch the game. Hey, the Padres are playing. We went for our anniversary in May. We were in Vegas. Let's go watch the Padres game at a sports book. Didn't care. Didn't care this week.
That's just my God's honest truth, man. I'll have it on tonight in the background as I'm getting the kids ready for bed, like I normally do, and I hope that they win. Certainly, but
I mean, even our show is different now. We're talking big picture.
You have to.
We're not going to come in tomorrow and break down the game for 3.5 hours like we would for a game in June.
No,
we just won't.
And we have to cover this team every day. It truly has been the most excruciating part of my life, and I've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And this team is far more excruciating than a 5-year-old. I also coach a team with 12 5-year-olds on it. That's less excruciating than Padres baseball has been. And it was excruciating yesterday. They would not listen. So I was about to bonk their heads together like coconuts. And that's less excruciating than this season has been. I will not miss it for a second. I will throw myself fully into college football, the NFL, and be ready for next year. I want to see some news. I want to see some changes. I want to see this is how we're going to fix it. I want to hear from
it's
ownership.
Gonna be a fascinating offseason.
The offseason is going to be great. It's going to be great. That's good stuff. But I don't want to see this team play anymore, man. I'm getting invited to games and stuff. I'm like, I'm good. You got so much of my money. You got so much of my time. You got so much of my heart, so much of my soul. And this is what, we're left with. Just a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs.
And on that note, let's get to the Reindl Report.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. Yeah, we're split. People in the chat saying, yeah, I like to see them win now. And I'm like, that's fine. That's your prerogative. It makes me mad. It makes me mad.
I mean, I guess personally I'd rather come in and the morning after a win than a loss.
Just give me something interesting to talk about.
Ultimately, it doesn't really matter anymore.
No, it just doesn't matter.
If they lose, great. If they lost, great. Or, win, okay, cool. It means nothing.
I'm definitely down to watch guys like Campy continue to get good ABs. And that swing he had yesterday, I did see that. I was getting ready to leave the ass out. And he knocked it. He gets on first. He gives it the...
Put it in play. Something good can happen.
Something good can happen. I loved it.
All right, gentlemen. Did Philadelphia learn nothing last October? It was, of course, the NLCS.
We did this to them. You think they would have learned.
You go back to last October and San Diego Rappers. It's going to curse us forever. I firmly believe that. You say curses aren't real.
No, I've changed. I've changed. Curse is absolutely real. There's the caveat. Why aren't they real for anybody else? Because this guy did this rap and they won.
Yeah.
They won their game.
Local news station in Philadelphia over the weekend. This video went viral. Robert Flores from MLB Network, he actually, I guess he's an Eagles fan, and he posted this video and he said, "This isn't hyperbole when I say this could wreck the Eagles season."
Bro Flo, former Sports Center anchor.
It's a local news station. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in Eagles jerseys, and this is what they brought to your local Philadelphia news.
Okay, touchdown in my city, go hard or go home. Yeah, it's Bird Gang till we drop. Rep that hard, locked in my zone. Yeah, I'm cheering loud for my team. Put my jersey on my back. Know that energy is on beat, dog, no matter where we at. Line up on that field, yeah, pound the rock and go long, boy. We walking into your end zone. That fight song is our song, boy. Burst down on first down, whole roster on, can't touch me. You'll never take me out, but I still bleed green if you cut me like Philly at the top, we here to stay. Put the work in.
Eagles gonna win. That's what's in.
Jalen gonna cruise. I want to die. Stop rapping about sports forever, fans.
Philly going down to yellow and brown. That's what's in.
Why didn't it affect them? Why does it only affect us?
Maybe he didn't mention a goose, and that's really where the curse comes in.
Padres on the loose. Let's go, Goose.
I hate it here. I hate it. Hate it. Hate it here.
I know. I haven't even looked at the chat. I know people like, F you, Paul. Don't play that clip ever again. I feel like
we have to
wear it. We allowed that to happen.
How is that? So, Jeffrey says this isn't like ours. I mean, I guess not, but like, it's still the same principle. Still. Some white
Bryce gonna lose and Manny's gonna cruise.
Oh my God, Bryce absolutely took our souls from us, you dumb ass. I'm much more of a pacifist than I used to be, but that guy, if I saw him, I'd have a hard time not saying something. Be like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Feel the passion in the crowd. Flap your wings and say it loud and be proud. We the best. Yeah, and that hurts, don't it? One team, one city.
Hurts, don't it? I see what he did.
I hate it so much, Paulie.
Remember
the Super Bowl shuffle?
I used to get a Hertz donut back in elementary school.
Remember the Super Bowl shuffle? Mm-hmm. That was done by the players. The players did it.
Right.
And that was horrible. But they didn't care. Nobody was beating that team, the 85 Bears. We just got to put a moratorium. Stop rapping about your favorite team. It never ends well. It never ends well.
I think we can all get on board with it.
Is there a Braves rap or something? Like, I have not seen any raps about the Braves or the Astros. Man, if I'm a Philly fan,
Jay-Z wears a Yankees hat, but that's about it.
That dude with that guy walking around Philly, had they lost that game, bro, Philly doesn't play. Like, they would kill him. Kill him.
Cheat and repeat do rhyme if you're trying to create an Astros.
That's
rap.
true.
That
Cheat and repeat. Very good.
All right, finally, one more story today. We'll keep it short. Saw an update on Aaron Rodgers. So we talked about this on Thursday. He did post on Instagram and basically alluded to, I'm looking to run it back next year. The road recovery starts now. And then Ian Rappaport had it over the weekend that Aaron Rodgers has received an innovative surgery on his Achilles. And as soon as I saw it, new and innovative technology and
Dr.
Aaron
Joe
Rodgers,
Rogan performed the surgery, right? Yeah.
Well, this is interesting. And this whole surgery, this new surgery, could have him back and ready to play by mid-January should the Jets qualify for the NFL playoffs.
Well, they won't.
Sources say renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Neil Elatrache and his team performed a procedure to place an internal brace called an Achilles speed bridge on Rodgers' fully torn left Achilles.
Speed bridge.
I like the name.
I did too.
Yeah, very innovative. That, by the way, that whole story, Paulie, was full of flubs. You might want to go back and just edit yourself on that one, just in case. Not just Dr. Elatrache's name. They're not. I mean, I don't think they're going to make the play. They have a really good defense. That's the thing.
No, their defense was terrible yesterday.
Well, they're playing the Cowboys,
and I know.
And they stopped them. By the way, they kept them to 5 field goals on 5 of the drives. Red zone defense was okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't. They got a great defense. I don't know that offense they spent months preparing for the Aaron Rodgers offense.
Get Zach Wilson.
He ain't Aaron Rodgers.
Got another one?
No.
Okay.
That's it. We're running out of time.
Yeah, we got Sammy to get ready for. If you missed the open to the show 3 hours and 15 minutes ago, we're going to bring that back for you at the bottom of the hour when Sammy joins us. It was a masterpiece by one imaging director and executive producer, Paul Reindl. We'll get that coming up for you with Bennett Woods after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Just had a visit from our friend John Flint from down the hall at KSON with a very good question that I should be able to answer, but I can't. He asked, why are there 2 Monday Night Football games on tonight at the same time?
Yeah, same time.
And I said, I don't know. They did it last year. I think it was week 2 also where, the staggered start. So
It
there's
used to be the first Monday night game, wasn't it?
They used to do a doubleheader on the first Monday night game.
Right.
There was like a 4 o'clock game and then a 7 o'clock game on the West Coast. So like the Raiders or the Chargers would play really late, and then there'd be a 4 o'clock East Coast game. These games are both on the East Coast. I think the first one's in Carolina, New Orleans at Carolina. That's like 4:15 on ESPN. And then an hour later, it's Cleveland at Pittsburgh kicks off on ABC. And you can watch either one. You can flip back and forth.
Yeah.
I guess
an hour staggered.
I guess, if one game's bad, at least you've got a good game, hopefully, to switch over. Or maybe they'll both be absolutely atrocious. But, we will have 2 Monday Night Football games on tonight. And I really don't know what the strategy is behind that. I mean, you already have the captive audience. If you only have one game, they're probably going to watch it anyway. So why not just have the one game? I'm not sure.
Can you name New Orleans starting quarterback?
Taysom Hill is the quarterback I like, but Teddy Bridgewater's their actual starter.
I thought it was Carr.
Isn't it Derek Carr?
Derek Carr is their actual starter.
All right. How about Carolina?
No idea.
No idea.
The starters.
0.
Carolina. None.
I'm racking my brain. No clue. Cleveland's is Deshaun Watson.
Right.
And Pittsburgh's is Kenny
Pickett. Who had a really good preseason, but not a very good first game.
And Cleveland's going to Pittsburgh.
Bryce Young.
Okay. Alabama guy.
I mean, they drafted him. I don't know if he's starting yet or not.
Interesting.
He is a quarterback.
He is a quarterback on the team.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket.
There's no way he's still in the league. There's no way. Sam Darnold.
Apparently,
maybe.
no. Sam Darnold's now on the 49ers.
Who's their Andy
Bryce
Dalton
Young
is still
their quarterback for Carolina.
Andy Dalton's still on the team. He's 35 years old. Wow. All right. Just not 4 teams I'm super fired up to watch.
Unless your fantasy football game is on the line tonight.
I don't want to talk about it.
The Upper Hand Fantasy Podcast brings you the latest news and player insights to help you win and avoid embarrassing league punishments, in-depth analysis, start-sit questions, and everything you need for your fantasy team. Download Upper Hand Fantasy on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Paulie's still alive in the Survivor League that we both lost in week 1.
Yep.
You had the Cowboys.
I did.
Got the job done yesterday.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Eat me.
And we also have some tickets to give away for the upcoming 3-day Power Trip Festival featuring Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Judas Priest, Metallica, and Tool. Grab your tickets now at powertrip.live, or if you want to call in, let's make the 5th caller our winner, 833
huge prize.
288-0973. Well, which one of those bands is still must see for you?
Well, for me, they all
Listen to them again one more time.
Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, AC/DC, Judas Priest, Metallica, and Tool.
So every one of those bands has been a part of my life, a formative part of my life. Iron Maiden, 1,000%. GNR, no question. AC/DC, Judas Priest, Metallica, and Tool, strangely enough, probably the least. But I love Maynard from Tool. I love his side projects more than I like Tool. But Metallica and Tool on a Sunday night is going to be about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours of just throb,
sounds very loud.
It would be as loud.
Very loud.
It would be as loud and raucous as anything you've ever imagined. GNR and Iron Maiden on the same bill on Friday night. AC/DC and Judas Priest. I've seen 1, 2.
I'd be interested in seeing Guns N' Roses. I've never seen them live.
Axl doesn't sound great.
Okay.
Right now, he doesn't sound great.
The guitar still sounds
Slash
good, though.
still sounds great
Because I like that.
Duff looks great. Iron Maiden, actually, from what
I don't know that much about Iron Maiden.
Bruce Dickinson, lead singer, just a really powerful band in the 80s. Just massive, massive band. AC/DC's
Obviously,
classic.
I know, Trevor Hoffman, Hell's Bells,
Yep.
AC/DC.
It will be a scene. I'm trying to imagine what the crowd is going to look like, and I see it in my mind's eye. And I see it's like a bunch of burnouts and heshers, but I'm all in. I would love to go.
I mean, it's going to be a lot of older fans because of when these bands were in their heyday.
You say that.
But people who don't think they're old
Like
because
me.
they're still going to shows like this and
Right.
festivals. So you got to be old but not think you're that old.
So the other thing, too, is a lot of kids love this stuff. Love this
Really?
stuff. Yeah,
They're
grew
hot
up-
again?
Grew up on
Okay.
it. Yeah. I mean, look, these guys aren't playing at the Del Mar Fair. I mean, they're playing out in Indio, a 3-day festival. It's going to sell a ton of tickets. I don't know that it'll sell out, but it will sell a ton, and it actually sounds like a pretty fun weekend to go out and rage out there. I would go to that over Coachella or Stagecoach any day.
So
of the
you've
week.
told us Coachella is now
Terrible.
just DJs.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Essentially.
It's terrific.
And holograms.
Yeah, but this would be pretty amazing. The tickets start at $599.
Oh, wow.
guys,
And
so
we're giving away 3-day passes?
This is a pretty huge.
And they start at
huge
$590?
prize. Yeah.
That's a huge prize. We're giving away a huge prize right now. The lines
Every
are...
morning this week, I believe.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
That is incredible. Ozzy was supposed to play, and he's not, I believe. But now it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. If they send me, I'll go. What is it? October 6th.
We should send Sam Levitt to cover it for us.
That would be priceless. You and Sam actually would be the best thing ever.
Power Trip. Ben and Sam's Power Trip.
That would be
Brought to you
amazing.
by 7 Mile Casino.
Yes,
I
I
would
need to
go.
make that happen.
I would go.
Speaking of Sammy Levitt, he's going to join us next. We'll play Paulie's intro for him if you didn't hear the start of the show, and everybody else that missed it as well.
It's fantastic.
Celebrating the first 4-game winning streak of the season for your San Diego Padres. It's coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. This hour 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Fresh, human-grade dog food delivered right to your door. From better poops to more energy. When you switch your dog's food to the Farmer's Dog, the effects can feel magical. What sorcery is this? None at all. It's just real food made for the health of dogs. Get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/no magic. All right, Sammy's standing by. Paulie's got the open, loaded, and ready to play. We'll get to all of it right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the premier auto family, here's Kelly Denick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, a 15-minute instant drive-through oil change. Got a few problems wrapping up our morning drive. One is a collision on the coastline southbound 5 right past Leucadia. Appears to be partially blocking the HOV lane, and we're getting conflicting information if this is the Genesee on-ramp to north or southbound 5, but reports of a collision there. Westbound side of the 8, right before the 805, there's an accident. It's got the 2 right lanes blocked. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change Centers. You don't have to get out of your car, and it usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for discounts and locations nearest you. Valvoline Oil Change Centers are open 7 days a week. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
One and 0 to Smith. Kerr delivers. And that's it in the air out to right field. Fernando fighting the sun a little bit, using his glove to shield his eyes. He makes the catch, and the ball game is over. For the first time this season, the Padres have won 4 straight. The Padres have won 4 straight. The Padres have won 4 straight.
Okay, so we talked about day 1 of spring training, what our goal was. Our goal was to win a World Series. There's steps along the way, right? We got to the first one here. We got to the first one. There's a few more to party with, but I'll tell you what, the first one should be celebrated and celebrated hard. Drink up, man!
The Padres have won 4 straight.
Let's go, San Diego! Live that out, San Diego!
I mean, this is what you do it for, and I'm really proud of the guys and excited for everybody.
Let's go! Hey, it's our house right here, baby!
The Padres have won 4 straight.
This feels so much sweeter than any other win that we've had, man.
The Padres have won 4 straight.
You know, it's a credit to them. They know. You know, they know what was ready for us at the end. And you keep your eye on that all the time. You know, no matter how many punches, like you said, that you take along the way, if you really, really are convicted in what it's going to look like at the end, then you end up in the place we are right now.
The Padres have won 4 straight.
It feels great. The players, the fans, they both showed up in the biggest possible way. It could not have been better. Congratulations to our players. Is it extra sweet?
Because you finally won 4 in a row?
A little bit.
The Padres have won 4 straight.
It's murdered me.
It was a journey that started so long ago.
Yeah.
On Wednesday. And then came to fruition on Sunday of the same week. And finally it happened. The Padres with a 4-game winning streak.
Let's go.
Well, it's a journey. It's a journey that started opening day. And finally.
You can't get to this point without 5.5 months of agony beforehand.
150 games? Is that right?
They've played 446 before starting their first 4-game winning streak.
My God.
147,
48, 49, and 50 were the big 4 that we've been waiting for.
That's the big 4 that we were told that the big 4 had another meaning. These are the actual big 4. 1 against the Dodgers and 3 against the A's. And boy, did we do it.
Our big 4 right now is Woods, Ben, Paul, and Sam Levitt on our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Welcome to the big 4, Sam. And you were a part of all of it this weekend.
Yeah, every bit of it.
Oh, I was a part of all of it. I closely watched every single pitch. I was on the edge of my seat. And you know what? It doesn't appear, barring a miracle, we will have the opportunity to pop any kind of champagne this year. But you know me, Champagne Sammy, I'm thinking you get the 5 in a row here tonight. you might want to break out the bubbly.
It's gonna
even
be
at home.
hammered on the
break
postgame
out
show.
some bubbly at home. I mean, do it for yourself at the very least.
It's going to kill me when these guys rip off like 10 in a row. It's absolutely going to take my soul from my body and step on it.
Climb to like within 3 games of a playoff
With 4 to go. Oh, Jesus, dude.
Well, you know what? They got last place teams coming in this week in the Rockies and the Cardinals. So this would be as good of a time as any to keep it going. And Sammy, how much of this was just the fact that they were playing the Oakland A's, the worst team in all of baseball, and how much by your very seasoned now eye do you feel like the Padres are actually playing better baseball for whatever reason?
I think it was a mix of both. I mean, I think if we're being honest about it, that's an A's team that has now lost 103 games after this weekend, and we saw a lot of the reason as to why their offense isn't very good. Their pitching is not very good defensively on Saturday. They were throwing the ball all over the place. So I think it's a mix of both. Certainly they're playing better. Padres are 10-5 in September. From an offensive standpoint, guys, it's been really interesting because as, you know, some injuries have piled up and they have guys like Matthew Batten and Eddie Rosario playing more and, Brett Sullivan, and they're really, getting some guys in and out of the lineup, and some different names are coming in and out on a day-to-day basis, Manny included, dealing with the tennis elbow. I mean, offensively, they're scoring, I just calculated it up, 6.2 runs per game in September so far, which is, by far the highest number they've had in a month, and we'll see where they are at the end of September. But offensively, they're doing a lot of good things, so it was a mix of both. I mean, look, they did win 2 out of 3 against obviously a very, very good team in L.A. earlier in the week, so they deserve some credit for that. But I certainly do think a significant part of the equation this weekend was the competition they were playing, no doubt.
Talking to our pal Sammy Levitt here on Ben and Woods this morning. And Sammy, where is your head? Are you? We were talking about it a little bit earlier. Will we miss this team this season when it's gone? I think for the first time, and I've been watching baseball really since I was 10, like hardcore watching it. So that's 38 years. This may be the first season I look at and go, I'm good. I'm ready. I'm ready for it to be over. Let's wipe the slate clean. It has been it's been a tough putt this year, man, watching this team.
Yeah, it's been a long year, and I think, for me, being around it from mid-February on, every day in some
6
capacity.
6 weeks in spring training. Don't forget
6,
that,
I think
guys.
More like
7 weeks.
More like 7, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You got to count every day out there in Arizona.
Yes, you do.
Look, I think the weirdest part to it for me, and just the purely following it in fan perspective, is the idea that it just sort of feels like it never really got started, right? And the example, above all examples of that, is what we experienced yesterday. This team in game 150 and on September 17th, having their first 4-game win streak of the season. I mean, if somebody would have told you that, in mid-February in Peoria, you would have said they're crazy, right? That this team would go that long without winning 4 games in a row. So, to me, from the emotional fan perspective, like, it's been so odd, and it in a lot of ways felt like it never really got going because it didn't. They fell below 500 in early May and have been below ever since. Now, can they get back there? Sure, they've got work to do. They're still 6 games below with 12 games left to play. So they've got to play some very, very good baseball against some bad teams nonetheless here down the stretch. But, look, I'm with you, Woods. I think, I certainly understand the feeling of being ready to wipe the slate clean, to get into the off season, to see how this thing unravels in the offseason in the sense of, who's here, who's leaving. The Padres have a lot of decisions to make, especially, with the options in the rotation for guys like Waka, for guys like Martinez. Lugo has a player option. We said for a while the core of this team, in all likelihood, will look very, very similar. But there are going to be, in all likelihood, a lot of different faces on this team next year. In a number of different areas. So, look, with all that said, and look, I get it if you're out there and you're thinking I'm ready to see what this team looks like come spring training 2024, and let's run it back and try to fix what happened in 2023. At the same time, I know myself, like once it's December 10th and, we're in the real heart of the off season, like, I always miss baseball and I find you miss it pretty quick. And by the time the holidays roll around, you're ready for the whole thing to start again. So my recommendation to people would be, look, I get it. But try to enjoy the final, 12 games here, and certainly 6 games at home. If you can get to the ballpark, it's a long winter. So try to enjoy it. All these days and seasons are precious, as we know.
Guys, and I'll address all of you, Sammy, Paulie, and Woodsy. It feels like even the bits of good news this season for the Padres have all come with a big but.
Sure.
Blake Snell is having a phenomenal season. By the way, Justin Steele got lit up on Friday,
Yep,
so the
6-0.
Cy Young Award is pretty much his to lose now. But he's going to be a free agent. Don't know if he's going to be back. Juan Soto has put up huge numbers again, but don't know if you're going to be able to extend him and re-sign him. Nick Martinez, Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, all bright spots, but are you going to be able to bring them back? What's their status?
There's Ha-Sung Kim. Enjoy him for one more.
Yeah,
right.
But there's one story here that I don't think comes with a but in the second half of the season. It's all positive, and his name is Luis Campusano. He has really emerged. He is going to be hopefully part of the Padres for the next few years, and maybe even now the starting catcher next season going into the year. Like, Padres finally found one, and it didn't have to take waiting for Ethan Salas to, grow some, facial hair before they have a catcher behind home plate. They may have one for the next few seasons, and I just wanted to see what you've kind of seen from Campusano.
Yeah, you just talked to him recently, didn't you, Sammy?
Yeah, I talked to him post game after the win on the first win in L.A., the game where he hit the home run, the 3-run homer. I'm with you. I mean, I think, despite the injury, ever since coming back, especially, I think it's been very, very impressive what Luis has done. I mean, really behind the plate and at the plate with the bat. You look at not only the numbers and some of the power, because I don't think the power was ever a question for Luis. I mean, that's something he was known for going back to, I was sitting at Double-A in Amarillo in 2019. He was at High A at the time and I think won California League MVP that season. And he was somebody that we thought in 2020 was going to be with us probably most of the year at Double-A. It never happened because 2020 happened, but he's somebody who's always had power. So I don't think that was ever a question. Offensively, what I've been very impressed with is his approach in some of these situations. Yep. There was a good example of it yesterday. He had, a runner in scoring position. I think it was a 2-strike pitch yesterday. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look, but didn't try to do too much, like just, flared one into the outfield.
Yep.
Very, very, very similar at bat at some point in LA to drive in a run. And there have been some other examples. Like, I think from a pure hitting perspective, I think he's shown a lot of maturity in his approach for somebody that does have a lot of power. He's not up there always trying to hit a home run. I mean, from the catching perspective, look, we've heard a lot of good things as far as his development from a former catcher in Bob Melvin, and he's been very, very complimentary of what Luis has done. We've heard other guys say that inside the clubhouse. What he did with Blake Snell the other night, after a run of starts where Snell was exclusively working with Gary Sanchez, and then for Snell to do what he did with Luis behind the plate last week in LA, I thought was really impressive, and Luis deserves some credit for that. And I'd encourage people to go and watch the interview I did with him after the game in LA. I mean, I've been very impressed the way he described his approach on the home run. The mistakes he made in the first at bat. He got a changeup. He got the same pitch, and he let it travel a little bit. And I'd encourage people to go watch it because I thought it was pretty interesting. And you look at the progression he's had from last year to the spring training to now. I think it's a really good example of what a really talented guy can do and show if given the opportunity to do it here at the major league level. And as far as next year, I'm with you, Ben. I find it hard to believe he's not at the very least in some sort of split with another catcher, and maybe he is your real primary number one catcher, and there's somebody just backing him up. I think that's a real possibility heading into next year, depending on how they want to play it. But no doubt, I think it's been a very, very impressive run for Luis, and he deserves a lot of credit for what he's done and the improvements he continues to make.
Well, Sammy, you have brought it all season long, even if the Padres didn't always do so. You've got 12 games left to finish it out strong starting tonight. 6:40, Rockies-Padres tie block against Michael Wacha. We will hear you at 5:40 on the pregame show. As always, thank you for joining us.
All right, guys. Thanks. And Ben, great newscast last night. I watched the entire Sports Extra. If you guys don't watch it, he somehow gets all this information, all these highlights into like a 10, 15-minute segment.
No, we're
it's
asleep.
unbelievable.
We're asleep.
They've never seen the show. Well, Woods has been on the show, but I always pre-tape with him because he's long asleep before I ever come on.
By the way, he also gives a plug to Ben and Woods at the very end to listen at 6 a.m.
Thank you for watching, Sammy. I always wondered if
What a
anyone
pro.
was watching. Sam
how
Levitt.
much did Ben Venmo you
on our Premier Chevrolet of
Ben,
Carlsbad fan hotline? Everybody loves Sammy. Visit Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. And I've seen in our chat, but you've got to re-sign Gary Sanchez. You gotta. I'd love for Gary Sanchez to come back and still, be a tandem with Luis Campusano, whatever the split is. You always need depth. I mean, there's a very little chance that either of them is going to catch 120 games because it's just too hard to do. However, if we are living in an area where resources are scarce and you have to allocate, I feel more comfortable now about having Luis Campusano as a primary catcher and maybe spending more on pitching than, spending $15 million or whatever it's going to take to bring Gary Sanchez back to be a part-time catcher. I like what I've seen from Campusano, and I'm going to trust him more now going into 2024.
With Campy, it's just health. Can he stay on the field? He's a good example that at bat Sammy was talking about. One of the more life-changing moments I've had on this show was when Adam Jones told us about his approach when he was a player. First two swings belong to me. Those are mine. I'm going to do with those first two swings whatever I have started teaching my 5-year-old when we hit in the street, giving him different scenarios. All right, 0-0 count. This one's yours. 0-1. This one's yours. It's 0-2. Watching him approach, try to make contact. It changed my life. We don't see a lot of that from the San Diego Padres, but Campy is one of those guys. Xander's one of those guys. I think Xander with a two-strike. I think his two-strike approach is good. I think Manny can get a little long 2 strikes. Toddy can get a little long 2 strikes. Soto can sometimes get a little too long.
It's fun when you see 0-2 home runs. They had a couple of them over the weekend, but in the long run, it's probably going to come back and bite you a little bit.
And it has. I think it absolutely has this year. But what a great example Sammy brought up. That moment, honestly, it changed my perspective as somebody that's going to be coaching my kids for the next 10 years of what to teach them and how to have an approach when they go up to the plate. So I thought I think the future is so bright for him. Just can he stay on the field? Can he stay on the field and not get banged up? And I know that's such a rough position. You're almost crossing your fingers. That's why you need two, man. We have seen what happens when there's a black hole.
You've seen the bad examples. You've also seen him come back from taking a really tough shot to the groin and was in there the next day. It's not necessarily always toughness. Sometimes there's a little luck involved with that as well. All right, we barely even scratched the surface today. I feel like we got so much to get to tomorrow. So just join us again at 6 a.m. But great show. Great job by Paulie putting that open together. Fantastic. For Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Coach coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan.